Hello, do a sound check real quick. You guys let me know if my sound sounds okay. Oh, my fan sounds super loud in the background. Let's switch and change this view up. All right, yeah, let me know how my sound sounds. I'm trying to work on it now. Apologies for the delay. Getting everything up and live now. Yes, and Chris, we are live. We just hopped on live before you came in, sir. Oh goodness, we see what is going on here in the chat already. What is going on?
What's going on,
Sounds
everybody?
okay. Good. I realized that I did not charge my mic. I was like, ew, I don't want it to die out on me real quick, so I decided to try to reconfigure another setup, which I had previously done before, where I can keep it charged at the same time.
Okay.
So hopefully that sounds good. Chris, how are we
What's
doing?
up, man?
Uh-oh, sounding robotic. How are we doing, Chris?
I'm all right, man. Just chilling. I've been a busy couple weeks. My grandmother passed away. We had the funeral.
Maybe that setup is not working.
Last week. Then I had a family reunion. A few days later.
1 second, then, because I cannot hear Chris at all.
Can anybody hear me?
Sorry, audience, is Chris sound okay? Can you guys hear Chris? Let me know in the chat if you can hear Chris okay. If not, then the problem is on my end, and I can switch that really quickly, but just let me know if you guys hear him okay. Oh, shoot. Let me fix that. Okay, Street says he hears us both. Okay, so I guess that's on my end. Wait 1 second. Give me about 1 minute, and I'll be right back then.
Yeah. So anyway, I was in New York for a couple of days. Damn near a week or so. And I still worked and everything, so it's just been a busy week. Now I'm back. I'm back at the house. So hope everybody had a good week. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Marcus's audio. I think he may have to charge his microphone. I think that's part of the issue he might be having. But other than that, I see he has. We're going to talk about our boy, Mr. Trump, and I see the right wing was pretty upset with the FBI this week. So that we'll get into all that. Marcus, you good now?
Can you hear me okay? Sound check.
I hear you.
All right. Well, it'll probably die out partially through, so I'll let that go. Oh goodness. What is going on, Jira? Again, what is going on? Oh man, we're not dealing with this feuding and stuff this week. Can't have it. So Chris, what were you saying? I could not hear anything you were saying, sir.
No, I was just saying, he had a busy week. Had a funeral and a reunion all in the same week. So, you go from like low to high. Yeah,
Jalen, see, I just thought you had a reunion. Jalen was the one who told me, oh, no, we had a funeral also. So, and I see on Rockfan, we have 6 watching. We are live over there also. And our reserve judgment says, can hear both of you. So good. We see you over there, reserve judgment.
What's going on, guys?
And let's see. So I guess you guys saw all the different titles that we have. We'll probably save the Trump business for a little bit later because there's just so much stuff. Oh, shoot. We see our friends down here. See, Slow News Day is in the chat. Says, I've been busy. There was feuding in indie media. I refuse to believe such wild nonsense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, there's always some back and forth bickering, which I just hope that we try to remember that our focus should be on, the audience and trying to get the information to the audience. And somehow along the line, some of us kind of just, whoever it may be, kind of, let's not take everything, so personal or get so pissed about everything. Polio is back. Chuck Modi, tone please authoritarian. Oh, well, this isn't the thing. The only reason why Chuck Modi is even in this is because he happened to be a part of this panel that was on RBN. I mean, honestly, I don't have a feeling towards Chuck Modi, good or bad. I just know the name. I don't really know much about what Chuck Modi is into or not into. So I personally don't have a beef with him. So if I'm sharing, so I want to put this out there because watching the whole Brianna, you know what? Let's start with that. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. I'm all over the place. Let's get the intro first, and then we'll kick off and get into the show. That's how we'll do it. Give us time to all collect our bearings, woosah. Give some people who aren't in here, give them enough time to hop in and follow along with the show. That way they don't have to miss any of the content before we actually get into everything. Let's see. Boom.
You were here because you have a question. Really get down to understanding this political matrix.
Out there, the stunt double. He walked out. He's got an oximeter on his back. I'm like, you gotta keep other. Marcus said on his other show. He was like, American politics is simply pro wrestling.
You became afraid of everyone because people were reporting on each other.
We're living out Minority Report too as well. And
you know why we know that, boss? Because we've been reporting on it.
Yeah, I know.
All the black people in this country be willing to take a reservation.
That's what the Nation of Islam was asking for.
Put a couple of clips together.
It's crazy to see how much Martin Luther King really began to look like, damn, man, Malcolm was fucking right.
I mean, what is the elite's end game?
There's this assumption that as a black commentator or black journalist that you're not informed.
Relationships, that's a skill we have to learn.
It's even more kind of mind-blowing because we're supposed to be the multicultural space.
Trying to drum up money to keep the war machine going so they can keep the donors happy.
Yeah. Do the Chinese own part of that?
Began a long time ago. Ukraine has had a neo-Nazi problem for decades.
Proof of sanction, am I right?
I don't know if Domcopters will do it, but something's got to be able to save the world.
From the private industry here.
Like I say, people come on here and they can say stuff they don't normally say on their own shows, which is fine.
Oh, it's McDonald's. You do.
Ooh.
And their cholesterol is going to go down. Yeah, good.
Look, we only exist because we have the biggest military, kid.
And silencing a person like Julian Assange. Because it affects everybody. And today, last week, believe you me, because they know who you are. They watch. They got people that's going out there. They don't want you guys having the conversations that you're having on this show. Mm-hmm. So it affects the political matrix today.
Sometimes I be.
All right. What the heck was that?
No, it was something playing from my phone.
Sometimes you be doing what? I would like to know. So, hello and welcome everybody. This is Political Matrix. I am your host, Young Morpheus, here with my good brother and colleague and co-host, Mr. Cy Lawson. Today we got Trump, FBI, Mar-a-Largo, and we're going to talk into all the implications of all of this stuff. There's just a lot with this, so I wanted to get some of this other stuff out of the way first, and we can hop into it. RBN, it was Compton J and Nick Cruz on with guest Chuck Modi, and they were talking reparations, and it was a short little segment. So I figured I just wanted to play through some of that and get some of the thoughts, get thoughts of my colleague. Some stuff I like to share with him up front. Some stuff I like to hold to the end, and that way I can get a live reaction out of him. And so now I think that's mine. Can you hear that?
A little bit. What is that?
What the heck? How is that playing?
Do you have
I'm like,
do you have the Rockfin up? Do you have the Rockfin up?
Yeah, I have the Rockfin.
Mute the Rockfin page.
No, what it was is somehow I know what it is. My messages, I had it something primed up on my screen, but it was up in my messages also. I guess it was loud enough to just play all the way through. So yeah, we're gonna talk about a little bit of that. What else do we have besides the reparations? What was it? Oh, self-censoring. There's a poll that I wanted to go into, show you guys about self-censoring. And then we got a couple other topics that, if we get to it, we get to it. If we don't, we don't. Hopefully we do. So I will try to not run my mouth too much and get into it. You're going to say 35 years ago, Elijah Muhammad did a live stream of all the Baxter rifle. That must be, I've got the feeling that that's not Steve. Got the feeling that that's probably Glory in there. So Claire, let us know which one is it. Is it Steve or Glory in there? All right, so yes, please relax. So I wanted to go ahead and share this since it's already been playing in the background. We were talking about already beefing with indie media, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I just thought that this was hilarious. If you guys don't know, there was a debate. Oh, you're feeling this wrong. Oh, it's Steve. What's up, brother? I'm halfway through watching the interview you and Pasta did over on Franco's channel. So pretty interesting so far. Some good stuff. You guys talking about fake faces and people being fakes and holograms, and it's an interesting conversation. So maybe of this room, I'm not sure what Warner has to do with it though. Yeah, I don't know. So let's pull this up on the screen. I thought this was freaking hilarious. You know that they debated, right, Chris? Ooh. That Brianna Joy Gray debated with Jank.
Oh, I mean, I saw I saw a clip or two, but
I don't know if you did you see this clip though that I'm about to share. I figured let's start off with a little bit of humor. Let's have some fun. Come on, open up.
Well, I firmly believe in force the vote, and I support force the vote, as did Cornel West and Chris Hedges and Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske and a whole lot of people on the left, a lot of members of DSA. It's really important to force the vote on various issues to expose folks who only performatively believe in various things. Because it seemed like a lot of the pushback against force the vote had to do with a mistaken belief that Kevin McCarthy could be Speaker of the House. No. I am articulating what I experienced, and I experienced a lot of animus, and I experienced it as animus when you referred to me as a fake leftist. I confess I'm not a longtime TYT viewer. Just to be really clear, because I didn't insert myself into an argument that you
No,
and
you
Jimmy
did.
were
You
having.
kept backing him over and over again.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I keep backing force the vote. I believe in force the vote. And I'm going to continue to back that kind of adversarial politics until the day I die. Whether Jimmy supports it, whether someone else supports it that you might not like. Well, Tank, for one, you should really talk to Jimmy. I am not a ventriloquist dummy for Jimmy Dore. I just cannot speak for other people, and I really wish you would respect me enough to engage with me as the human being that's sitting in front of you, and not asking me to speak for these random men who I'm not accountable for. I'm not their mom. I'm not in league with them or in allegiance with them. I don't see critiquing the few people that we have that are in positions of power to actually advocate for us as attacking them or trying to bring them down. I think I maybe don't watch as much Jimmy Dore as you might. What you just did to me, what you've done to all of them, which is to completely mischaracterize what I just said. You are seriously so oppositional. Every time I say something I believe, you interpret it as me saying you don't believe that. It's so weird. If I say my makeup brush is black, you're like, well, I also have a makeup brush.
What do you think of that one? I know it's silly.
I mean, quite honestly, you know, it is what it is, right? He was going to say things that probably made a little more sense than anything that Cenk was going to say, because, you know, Cenk is basically an operative for the Democratic Party. Good evening. With that being said, you know, Cenk is just he's just a poser for the Democrats. That's all it is. You know, Wesley, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. Democrats for all this time have sitting there been talking about, we got to, you know, force the vote. If I get in there, I don't care about staying forever as long as I just get in there and I fight, and I don't care if I'm a one-termer. And now these people are getting in there and everybody is not doing anything they said to do. And so Cenk, it's all just a matter of he does not want to admit that his strategy is not working. Also, I think that it's not only that his strategy is not working, I think for one, he's also bought off. So he has to put this facade out there that he's trying. And anybody who's calling out the people who he's there to give cover to, he has to push back. And that's all I see that's actually going on. So, I mean, I thought it was funny. Yes, I thought it. I mean, we needed a little laugh. You know what? That would have been better.
I mean,
if they would have threw that Will Smith slap in there too.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
I just like how every slap he just keep getting bloodier and bloodier.
Exactly.
It was hilarious. Yes, Cenk does look good with blood on his face. I know people all the time, they talk about, Steve was saying it on AM Wake Up the other day, like, can't remember who it was. I think it was David Schuster maybe. And he has a very punchable face. And like, that's what I think of when I look at Cenk. Well, Cenk and Hassan and almost everybody over at TYT, they all just have so punchable faces. But I'll leave it there. Chris looked like he got froze in a pondering state. Yes, I knew it when he was at the Republican convention. Oh, and somebody's talking. No one talking about the Fauci recent MSNBC interview. Yeah, I haven't talked about Fauci because literally, if that man says I'm breathing, to me, I have to question if that's a lie also. So when somebody that lies so much and is so dishonest and has been caught lying so many times, it gets hard to even stomach listening to it. I mean, and also, I had no clue he was even on MSNBC, to be honest, because I will force myself to tolerate one mainstream media at a time. So like, if I'm like, all right, I guess I'll watch Democracy Now! This week. There's no room for me to watch CNN or MSNBC or what's one of the other ones, or Breaking Points or The Hill. So I just got to choose one that I can tolerate for that week. It's normally never CNN or MSNBC. So it's like whatever they do, it's like happening in like a dark void somewhere. So it's as if it never happened. So that's my thoughts on Fauci.
Baba Yaga asked the question. She said, who actually watches TYT, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that many people, you know, they're just amplified on these, you know, some of these programs are amplified on purpose, right? Because their stated purpose, well, not stated, but their purpose is to keep us involved in electoral politics, Republican versus Democrat, you know, liberal versus conservative. That's the only reason why they're even somewhat popular, you know, but really they're full of shit. Once you get to this level, I mean, if you're listening to this program and other programs like ours, or even Slow News Day, right? Even better.
Or AM Wake Up. Don't forget that.
Or AM Wake Up, either or, right? You can see to even be discussing like TYT and Chank, all that shit really is just a waste of time. You know, it's fun to get our jokes off about it, you know, but we know it's not anything serious. It's only the zombies who watch it.
Another reason why we don't focus on it is because even if you are focusing on it, then you're still in the belief that you can accomplish something through electoral politics. Now, I'm not saying that on the very, very local level, like maybe your mayor, your city councilman can't do some things, that you can't get a ballot initiative, that you can't, that you can't do anything. But as far as they focus a lot of national politics, it's kind of pointless, at least from our vantage point. And especially living out here in California, many of you out there can definitely acknowledge what I'm talking about. It's about also can tell you that this is nothing changes. No matter who we put into power, no matter any of these ballot initiatives that we do, nothing changes. So it's really kind of pointless. You only really notice the changes when, maybe out there when I was living out in Florida, Chris, where say North Florida, it's a swing district. You can actually notice changes, whether they're good or bad. You can notice something happening, whereas most places you can't notice anything. Steve says the only interviews Bree gets off her own show are Bree goes and faces off against some idiot liberal, so she better be good at them by now. Yeah, true. And the thing about it is she's surrounded with what? The only person who's even somewhat considered, left of liberal would be Ryan Grimm, and everybody else is basically, moderate to right wing. So it by comparison, it's kind of like if you go out with your friends and all of your friends are out of shape and you're only a little out of shape, they make you look better by default because of how bad they look. And it's kind of the same thing I see with Bree. She goes on with a bunch of people who have basically dog shit political instincts and opinions. And so therefore, because she sounds somewhat sensible on some things, she's palatable to listen to. But the only person they've had on their show, which even was good on some points, would have been Kim Iverson. And she's no longer there. So it's kind of no point in paying attention to any of them over there. Let's see. I had something else that I wanted to pull up real quick. Whoa, let me take that out of the jumbo screen. Hopefully when I open my my messages up, it doesn't just automatically start playing. This I wanted to share.
So,
shit. Goodness gracious, calm down. This I wanted to share from a friend and colleague that we've had on the show before. Fiorella did some great work on over on RT, and I hate that it's under these kind of circumstances that she's talking about, but these kind of stories need to be brought out. What's going on over there in Israel? So since we're definitely not going to hear from our media, and they're making it harder and harder to hear from outlets that are in that region, I figure that I will pull this one up real quick.
And called for
Take it back to the beginning.
An Israeli Defense Forces investigation has reportedly discovered that it was their airstrike that killed 5 Palestinian children in a cemetery near Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza earlier this month. That's despite officials initially claiming the deaths were caused by a misfired Islamic Jihad rocket. Local journalist Sana Kamal visited the site of the deadly attack.
I am at the cemetery in the northern Gaza, standing at the grave where an Israeli airstrike killed 5 Palestinian children earlier this month, who came to visit their grandfather's grave. The youngest victim was 4. Following the attack, the family held a vigil at the cemetery and called for Israel to face the International Criminal Court.
My brother went to the store to buy something. He saw his cousins, went to say hi, and then went with them to visit our grandfather's grave, and then sat in the graveyard. The missile literally fell on their heads, and they were torn apart. They took him to the hospital, and I accompanied my mother to see his body in cold storage there.
I was in a hysterical condition when my son's friend came to me and told me that my son had been martyred. We found children's body parts, so we started loading them into the ambulances. While I was loading them into the vehicle, I came across the body of my own son. My message to the world is, this is enough. It is our right to live. Our kids, our elders, women and men. This is enough. It has been more than 80 years of living under Israeli occupation.
Also, dozens of Palestinians held at Gaza at the cemetery. They held banners saying that our children have the right to live in security and peace in the area.
Just to give you some background on this, according to Gaza's health ministry, 49 Palestinians, including 17 children, were killed, among them the 5 at the cemetery. That was in a 3-day assault by Israel from August 5th to 7th in what was described as the worst flare-up since last year's war. The violence ended in an Egyptian-brokered ceasefire, which the UN dubbed fragile. Israel claimed the operation came in response to the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group allegedly preparing an imminent attack.
Yeah, so your thoughts on that, Chris?
I mean, it's Israel, it's the Palestinians, it's the Zionists versus the people there. This is nothing new. The fact that, you know, they can admit that and nothing happens to them, it just, again, it's been like this my entire life. I can't think of when we haven't seen situations like this, whether it's an accident, they meant, you know, or on purpose. But most of the time, what they do is not, they don't make accidents, right? They plot too long, they plan too far out. Nothing they do is an accident.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tragic that now we're actually starting to hear it more. I mean, that's probably the only difference. And I mean, that's the same thing with what we had last year when we had a lot of rash of those different shootings and killings of people unarmed and things. It's not that it's something that it's really raising. What it is now there's more people with cell phone cameras. There's more media that are getting in there. There's more average people who are rising up as journalists and deciding to care about these issues. And then now we're hearing about them. Thus our, you know, Fiorella, you know, she cares about these issues. She talks about these issues. And because she's cared and talked about these issues, other people who find value in these issues decide, you know what, hey, let's give this person a platform so that they can bring more of these issues to our attention. And that's where I feel like the difference, that more and more the evils of this world are just being exposed more and more day by day. Now, how long can that continue on? How can we continue on in this cycle? I don't know. I mean, but with that going on, that also ties into I've been hearing talks of a possible an Iran nuclear deal, which I don't see how that's going to play out. Or even if it does play out to an actual deal manifesting, I wonder how long would that deal last? What's your thoughts, Chris?
None. We can move on.
Let's leave it there. Baba's comment here. Oh my goodness. I put it this way. I will remind me, Baba, to answer this to you in a DM. That way I can give you my unadulterated opinion. Because I don't even feel comfortable saying my true, honest opinion, even on, say, if we were just on Rockfin right now. Because, well, maybe if we were on Rockfin, because it's going to be very inflammatory. Just letting you guys know that. And being the platform that we're on, I already know that there's no way I can get away with saying what I really want to say. I even worry a little bit about saying it a little bit on Rockfin, because it is, my opinion is not in the opinion of most majority people. But the question again for everybody out there, just I'll let you all imagine and guess what I'm thinking. I know Steve definitely knows probably what I would say, and Chris probably does also. It says, how do Jews go from Holocaust to being culprits? One thing I will say is, everything you see is not always what it seems.
Yeah, I'm leaving that alone. We already know.
Yes. And
Hamza's talking about this interview with Fauci and MSNBC.
I'm honestly gonna have to, Hamza, just going ahead and hit me on. I know we talk often on Instagram, and so Hamza normally drops some stuff to me over there. So yeah, just drop it to me on the gram. Actually, yeah, just send it to me right now, and I'll just pull it up and go in there and see what thoughts I have on it. Oh, you already sent it to me.
He ain't playing.
He ain't playing. Let's see. Let's see. I'll put this close to the mic and let the clip play. Actually, what? Oh, that's right. Duh, my headphones are still on somewhere. Yeah. Let me unplug those. Or what? Yeah, that's right. Because I don't know if it'll let me send it. No. Let's take it back to the beginning. Is the sound quality okay? You hear that, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know how to transfer it.
The CDC is pledging to do better. Really? It botched its response to the COVID pandemic, including confusing and shifting public health guidance and the slow release of critical data. That from CDC Director Dr. Michelle Walensky after an internal review had admitted concerns about the agency's ability to tackle monkeypox and the reemergence of polio. Listen. The public health infrastructure of the country was not up to the task of handling this pandemic. We made some pretty public mistakes, and we need to own them. Because so many people did get COVID because of this subvariant, this BA.5. And so they said, well, I'm fully vaccinated, I'm double boosted, how could I get it? You know, and then some people take Paxlovid and then get a bounce back, as the president did. So people began to feel, well, maybe these vaccines are not that important. What you're pointing out is so important. What are we pointing out? Touching this one about polio. Yeah. How should get it out. Polio be occurring in our country in 2022? Yes, well, listen, what we need to understand is that the polio that we saw in this individual in Rockland County who had paralytic polio is a vaccine-related polio. Really? Let me explain what I mean. Is that
Whoa. Pause that. I gotta pause that.
Vaccine has in someone with a live
No, I didn't want to stop it, but did he just say? Let's back that up. Did he just say what it sounded like he said?
Is a vaccine-related polio. Really? Let me explain.
What?
Polio that we saw in this individual in Rockland County who had paralytic polio is a vaccine-related polio. Really? Let me explain what I mean. Is that the original Sabin vaccine, which is a live attenuated vaccine, has in it multiple.
So this vaccine. So hold on. So before we get ourselves in trouble.
No, by the way, this is just playing a clip. Actually, I think when you're playing the audio this way, not sharing on the screen, I think it gives you a little bit of cover, but fair use. This is from Rizza Islam's channel. Yeah, Rizza Islam on Instagram. So that's the voice you're hearing interjecting every now and then, Rizza Islam. And then we will let this continue. Fair use. We are just playing this. We do not support or deny the opinions of what's being said here. This is an opinion which we are allowing to say. Hopefully, this don't get us a strike again.
Marcus, they said they could barely hear it in the chat.
Is that better?
Which is a virus that when you vaccinate someone with a live attenuated vaccine, it can be excreted in the feces and get out into the environment. Correct. And it could revert to a more pathogenic form. Correct. So what happened with this individual is that they likely got infected from someone who had a vaccine-related polio. As a vaccine-related polio. The solution to the problem
We have
is to get everyone who is not up to date on vaccination,
Hold on, it's a little bit more.
children, to get them vaccinated. Come on.
So, Dr. Shevalinsky, the director of the CDC, you just stated that you, as in the CDC and your organizations, have made mistakes and you need to own up to it. Does that owning up to it include you all being sued for the mistakes you made? Does it include all of you going to jail for crimes against humanity? What about all the people who are fired for not taking the shot? Do they get their back pay and their jobs back? Impossible. Just admitted that the person who got the polio got it from someone who took the shot. And this does include giving us back all of our social media platforms you took away, correct? First shot didn't work, second shot didn't work, third shot didn't work, fourth shot didn't work. Hey, let's take a fifth one. Y'all gonna keep taking these shots? How many of y'all keep taking these shots? You keep taking. The only people who still push all of this crap after all of this are simply those whose pride is too big to admit they were wrong and lied to. It's over.
Yeah, I would tell everybody.
Pledging to do better.
Really? Against humanity.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, just go to type in RZA. Actually, I'll just put it on the if you have Instagram, you should be able to go to his page and see this.
It's RZA Islam's Instagram page. It sounds as if he's doing like a breakdown of Fauci's interview. It sounds like he was doing one on MSNBC with Andrea Mitchell.
So, yeah, this is where to find it. Yeah, and that's Corona Ursa. That's where you will find it. Myra's mama, thank you for that. I can't make out the words on this high pitched. Yeah, I understand. Sorry about that, but you guys heard some of the key details that they were saying in there. I'll figure out a way to share it on my Twitter. So I'm pretty sure that he's probably has it somewhere else on his Twitter. And I got one of them that I kind of reserve for putting out stuff that'll get me in trouble. So I don't care about getting Twitter bans. Let's see. Yeah.
But anyway, it sounded like Fauci said that there's a link between the current vaccines and.
Well, he said vaccine. He didn't specify current.
Oh,
but
okay,
we can assume.
Oh, all right.
He didn't specify.
So more or less, he's admitting what we already knew, what happened in Africa.
Well, this goes back to some of the people who I remember for the past 10 years, well before even any of the COVID stuff came around, that a lot of it was a battle back and forth with a lot of parents about vaccinating their kids. And they were saying that these vaccinations would lead to autoimmune issues and all kinds of stuff like that. And I kind of stayed neutral on the whole subject because I'm like, I hadn't done nearly enough research to study into it. So I'm not going to tell these people who they say they're doing research and studying it that they don't know what they're talking about. And also, I've never been in the school of thought of just trusting what, the official narrative is. So I've kind of left it alone for the longest. But over the last couple of years, in my opinion, there's some smoke there with what these people are talking about. So I don't feel that they can just be outright ruled out. I feel like somebody who is contrary to what these parents and what these other people have been saying about vaccinations in general, any kind of vaccinations, need to just come out and start answering some questions and clearing up things if they say that these people's information is incorrect. Sorry for rambling on. I see Yipper in there. Hey, Yipper.
Yipper, what's going on?
Oh, he emailed it to me also. Let me check my email on here.
No, there won't be any. There won't be a Nuremberg. There won't be crimes against humanity. There won't be any charges.
No. That's never gonna happen.
Mm-mm.
Never gonna happen.
They're not gonna throw each other in jail.
Mm-mm.
Or light air their own dirty laundry.
Let's see. Trying to see it. I don't see it in here yet. Hamza, but what happened there? I don't know what happened there. Nope, I don't see it yet. So I guess when it comes through, I'll try to put it up on the screen. But like this whole subject is going on, like what we were talking about before, you know, self-censorship, I think it ties in perfectly into something that I want to talk about today on the show. I actually saw this on the Hill. Like I told you, I pick one of them that I can tolerate for the time, and then I'll listen to one until it starts to make me itch and I grow hives listening to, you know, liberal bullshit, basically. So are you able to show the video, play it, and move the page to connect comment section or to add tab? I have not connected my, let me see if I can pull up my Instagram on here. And if I can do that, then I can try to show it. Yes, continue as me. Not now, don't do that. Let's see. This is actually my first time ever pulling up Instagram, not on my phone, so bear with me a second. This looks kind of crazy. I'm like, I don't even know where my messages are even at. Oh, wait a minute. Is that messages? Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, hold on a sec. Pause that there. And let me share it on my screen. And yes, Choosy, I agree. Scientology smells like a Jesuit smoke screen and Roman maritime pie. I don't know if it's necessarily Jesuit or Roman, but I do believe it definitely ties in with Masonic and Illuminati. So I don't know if you can find research there, Choosy, to tie it together. I love, you know, I love to go into it, but as far as my knowledge, I don't know for a fact. I understand some people don't Twitter or Instagram. Sorry, Wesley. Let me pull it up.
Marcus, I'm gonna go grab my water. I'll be right back.
Got you, sir.
COVID pandemic, including confusing and shifting public health guidance and the slow release of critical data. That from CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky after an internal review and admit concerns about the agency's ability to tackle monkeypox and the reemergence of polio.
Listen.
Our public health infrastructure in the country was not up to the task of handling this pandemic. We made some pretty public mistakes and we need to own them. Because so many people did get COVID because of this Omicron subvariant, this BA.5. And so they said, well, I'm fully vaccinated, I'm double boosted, how could I get it? You know, and then some people take Paxlovid and then get a bounce back, as the president did. So people began to feel, well, maybe these vaccines are not that important. What you're pointing out is so important.
What did he point out?
Oh, absolutely. You're not going to the hospital.
Man.
Dr. Fauci, let's talk about polio.
Yeah.
How
she can't even get it out.
Polio be reoccurring in our country in 2022?
Yes, how?
Concerned?
Well, listen.
Well, what we need to understand is that the polio that we saw in the individual in Rockland County who had paralytic polio is a vaccine-related polio.
Really?
Let me explain what I mean. Is that the original Sabin vaccine, which is a live attenuated vaccine, has in it multiple different types of the polio. One is a type 2, which is a virus that when you vaccinate someone with a live attenuated vaccine, it can be excreted in the feces and get out into the environment.
Correct.
And it could revert to a more pathogenic form.
Correct.
So what happened with this individual is that they likely got infected from someone who had a vaccine-related polio.
Now you speak the truth, Fox.
As a vaccine-related polio, the solution to the problem, Andrea, is to get everyone who is not up to date on vaccinations, particularly children, to get them vaccinated.
Come on, Fauci, come on. So, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, the director of the CDC, you just stated that you, as in the CDC and your organizations, have made mistakes and you need to own up to it. Does that owning up to it include you all being sued for the mistakes you've made? Does it include all of you going to jail for crimes against humanity even? What about all the people who were fired for not taking the shot? Do they get their back pay and their jobs back? And Fauci just admitted that the person who got the polio got it from someone who took the shot. And this does include giving us back all of our social media platforms that you took away, correct? First shot didn't work, second shot didn't work, third shot didn't work, fourth shot didn't work. Hey, let's take a fifth one. Y'all gonna keep taking these shots? How many of y'all gonna keep taking these shots? You gonna keep taking? The only people who will still push all of this crap after all of this are simply those whose pride is too big to admit they were wrong and lied to. It's over.
Today, the CDC is pledging to do better.
Really?
Yeah. So I would say thoughts on that one, but I don't want to get us in too much trouble. Even saying too much. So, yeah, because that censorship is a mother.
I mean, be safe, right?
Mm-hmm. I would just say, listen to these people out here and
grandma.
Yeah, I would just say, listen to these people out here and don't take what they say for granted. Don't just think that they're just somebody who's going against the narrative just to go against the narrative. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing, I got to see RZA speak out here live for, what was it? The Stop the Mandates, which if you guys check on my other channel, there is a short little bit of him talking. And you tell I got a little son out there. I was out there cooking on the grill earlier. God, little sons. It's always good. Sun's healthy for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what else do we got in here? Oh, so I just got over the vid. I was here for 2 years. Yeah, I gotta be careful with just reading out some of y'all comments. Asymptomatic people don't transmit. Yeah, that's right. That was one of the things that was said out there for a while too.
Well, if you're not sick, you're not sick. End of story. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly, Hamza. White media needs to know who he is. Some of them do, but some of them don't.
Yeah, he's only had to change his social media platform, like name or handle or account multiple times since 2020 and 2021 alone.
Yeah. Every time I would start following him, boom, then it goes down. Then I have to take months to find his new one, and then I find it, then it goes down. And so, thank goodness for Hamza. Hamza's always keeping me in the know with what's going on with RZA. But this brings me to a survey that I wanted to share everyone. This survey here, I mean, I wanted to read it myself instead of covering it from another news organization that I saw that covered it. Make sure it's showing okay. Let me put us on the side.
Well, to answer the question in the chat, why did they get rid of you know, why did they close down 8 of his prior accounts? Because he was talking pretty much too much about the Rona and the medicine that was supposed to fix it. I think you guys can follow what I'm saying. He was doing too much talking about it, poking holes in their theories, like a lot of us were doing at that time. And of course, he has a big following, and they just couldn't allow it. So they kept, you know, just playing whack-a-mole with his accounts. You know, you have people looking for it, snitching, and then his account would get shut down. All because people were saying, and hold on real quick, Marcus. All because people were saying basically what Fauci said. I mean, maybe not so much the polio aspect of it, but you don't know what can happen when you take this shit. As simple as that. Now they're saying there's a chance, polio, etc. Whatever. They knew they was fucking with people and that they were going to be guinea pigs. Simple as.
Well, that's the reason why they had the liability shields.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they were pushing for a 75-year liability shield. That way, by the time anybody starts to have effects, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, by that time, then you still could not come out with a lawsuit. That they want to make sure that they cover themselves as far as possible. That's the very reason why, you know, one of the bigger memory hold, and you know, I guess that's a little name drop out there to Steve's other show. One of the other memory hold events is the whole Kennedy assassination. That's the reason why they keep pushing back and pushing back and pushing back and delaying releasing the documents. And they release a little bit at a time. And then when they do release them, it's all redacted to hell. And you can only see like 15, 20%, because they're trying to cover people who are still alive or their family members who are still alive and can be held liable for things that they did. It's all about government covering their own ass and covering the ass of basically our fascistic leaders who we actually have. Because I know some of you guys think this is democracy, but no, we live in fascism. It's just disguised as soft. It's disguised as a corporatocracy. It's disguised as laissez-faire capitalism. But make no mistake, our government is fascistic. And for any of the so-called oppressive regimes you see around the world, this government is kicking all of their asses in any department you can think of. Now, do we have people literally getting beheaded out in the streets? No. Our government doesn't do that. But do they, what is it called? Remind me, Chris. Starts with an R. Rendition. Do people just get, picked up by the local PD and then transferred till they sitting in a black site somewhere? Yes. That shit happens every day. And so those shit libs that you see on different social media platforms who are putting their blue and yellow, flags in their bios and shitting on Russia and Putin, or shitting on China, or shitting on some village in Africa. Our government is doing everything that those governments are doing and worse.
I already told you that we stand for Ukraine, or stand with Ukraine campaign is it's one of the most annoying things. Just sidebar, like you just came off of Rona and now you're trying to get us with this. Come on, you use your imagination. You could have did something like far better. But anyway.
Oh, I agree with you there, Hamza. But we'll get into that on another show because that'll get us off into a whole bunch of deep topics. But remind me, we will talk about the moon landing on one of these shows, and some of the stuff going on with Antarctica. Eventually, we're definitely gonna have to talk about it. And then I brought up earlier, AM Wake Up was over on Frank Analysis, and they were talking about some CGI stuff. So we definitely gonna get into that stuff also eventually. So what was it? Oh yeah. Let's get into some of this here. This no, I'm not signing up for shit. Oh my goodness. All right, study what Americans really think. Difference between public and private opinions. Because right now, Axios, this is from Axios. I guess the people who did the study and wrote this out would be Steph W. Kite. That's what it looks like. Kight. Don't be coming after me, certain people who think I'm trying to use a slur. This is what it looks like her name is saying. And Margaret Talab. Because it looks like the names Talab could be like Tel Aviv. You get what I'm saying? I don't want them to be thinking I'm trying to, be cutesy and use some kind of slurs. Just reading what it looks like there, how the pronunciation of these names. So let's get into this. This survey is about 3,300 American adults conducted from May 23rd to June 8th to 22nd. One of the first questions on here says CEOs should take a stand on controversial social issues. Publicly, 28% of people feel, yes, CEOs should get involved. Privately, 14%. Public schools focus too much on racism in the U.S. Publicly agree, 43%. Privately agree, 33%. Mask wearing was effective to stop COVID-19. 59% publicly agree, 47% privately agree. Discussing gender, discussing gender identity in public schools is inappropriate for K through 3 children. So that would be kindergarten to 3rd grade. 63% publicly, 53% privately.
How's that not 100%?
Now that's the only one of these where it's basically flipped a little.
Yeah.
Abortion should be left up to a woman and her doctor. Publicly, 67 people say they agree. Privately, it says 58%. Now, granted, it all depends on where they did this survey at, who that they were actually surveying. All of those factors play into it. But, overall, what we're seeing in this survey, without really going into and really reading everything, what we're seeing is definitely people are self-censoring themselves. And it's shown that across the board, people are self-censoring at a much higher rate. Wonder why. Of course, I'm being a little sarcastic there. But Chris, what do you think of that survey?
It's broken down the usual political lines, it looked like. If you team GOP, then you sided with them. If you team Democrat, you sided with the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. It didn't seem as if those people were putting too much thought into it. It's almost like, okay, what did I hear my favorite cable host say?
Well, that's what it is. It's showing that we're becoming more of a herd mentality type of society. So anytime I hear people saying, well, if we just get this to happen and tell people this and informate, get this type of information out, everything is going to change around this way and that way. And I beg to differ. I believe that, can we wake up some? Just like me and Chris always talk about, can we wake up some? Yes. Or are some people going to be like, yo, I didn't even know that shit was going on. This is bullshit. Yes. But are we going to wake up the masses? Hell no. You're insane if you think we're going to wake the masses up and all of a sudden it's just going to be this revolutionary mindset. Granted, some of my colleagues believe that. They truly believe that there can be some kind of flip and change. But I guess maybe I'm not as optimistic as the rest. I do not see that reality happening. And so therefore we have to focus on trying to wake each other up. And what's your phrase you always end with, Chris?
Oh,
take care of what?
Take care of you and your family, man. That's it.
Well, Baba says it right here.
Yeah.
Says if you aren't gathering your tribe, stocking up, you are crazy. The less reliant you are, and the more you can resist, start stocking up. Buy books on foraging / trees, on how settlers survive, medical books. I agree. because shit's going to get crazy. You know, and Mr. Streets talks about Russia war spiraling out of control. I hope everyone's ready for what's coming. I hope they're ready too, Mr. Streets. I hope they are ready, because I think things are going to get very, very, very interesting. As we see now, all of a sudden, the Ukrainians are starting to fire into Crimea. And there's also even reports that they're getting dangerously close to possibly hitting a nuclear facility. And so you hit a nuclear facility, all bets are off. What happens next? You hit a nuclear facility in the middle of an active war going on. I don't even think that's been a scenario before. So how do you stop and try to contain that at the same time when you're fighting?
But that's not beneficial. But at the same time, that's not beneficial for either side. So
I know.
To the extent that happens.
Well, you got to think that Ukrainians obviously feel it's beneficial to hit that side, and it's going to affect Russia worse. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
There would be a response to that, number one. And number two, I mean, it just fucks up the land. I don't think anybody's going to do that unless, it's part of the show. I don't think it's going to be an accident or intentional. It'll be.
But that's if we believe that this is all solely decisions are being made between Russia and Ukraine, and that this isn't Ukraine being used solely as a proxy. And, Zelensky is complete and utterly being controlled by the West. If he's being controlled by the West and he's basically, metaphorically made a deal with the devil, I mean, all bets are off what he might do. Because at that point, he's only really worried about him, his wife, and immediate family. He don't even give a damn about Ukraine at that point. So even though the effects could harm Russia and you can get blowback and stuff which could go into Ukraine, if the guy is that far sold out, or I love the nickname Steve calls him, Cokie Smurf. if the little cokehead Smurf is too far bought out, what would stop him? That's my thinking in it. As we have to talk about, Hamza shares a lot of my thoughts. I'll say that much to his comments. So I didn't really want to go too much in depth in that. Oh, damn. Shelly says, damn, I didn't get an alert for this. Now, I'm not surprised they didn't give you the alert. Let me double check back over to Rockfin and see if I guess 10 watching over on Rockfin. Nobody's in the chat really right now. That's perfectly fine. You guys could either hop over to this other chat, or as long as you're just in there helping with the view counts. Oh, by the way, we just reached over 700 on Rockfin. So Political Matrix is growing. I thank you all over there who are following us, subscribing, whatever. I definitely appreciate it. That way we can get our name more out there and people can actually, follow the content that we're talking about. And I believe that we're one of the few shows where you can reach out to myself or Chris on different topics. And, if we can fit them in there, we will try to fit them in there. We will say, hey, well, yeah, we'll look into that. So, always, keep the messagings and the DMs open. Let's see, Russia, China, the US. Let's drop that down. And I wanted to bring up General Savage. I think the problem with the Matrix idea is that you're assuming that reality that the Matrix is going to feed you isn't going to be like a horror movie. The Matrix is not a pleasant place to be. I'm not sure who that's to, but I never said that anything is going to be pleasant about what's going on, or this political matrix is pleasant. But that's a different. That's yeah. I was like, I don't know about that. Yeah, I've almost doubled my YouTube subs in less than, what has it been, Chris? What, 2.5 months or so?
Just something like that. Mm-hmm.
So in 2.5 months, we've almost doubled what we've done on YouTube in 2 years. At the rate we're going, probably by 4 months, we will probably surpass all 3 of my YouTube channels combined. And that's in what, 3.5 years of content creating. So what 3.5 years of content creating on YouTube will be surpassed in probably 4 months on Rockfin. So, you know, shout out to everybody who's following and listening to our content over there. Much love to everyone. Just the biggest thing, Super Rays are great, but I just care that you guys, you know, give us the likes out there if you enjoy the content, and share. Tell somebody about us. Oh yeah. So we talked about the censorship. Did you want to get into the RBN one real quick, or did you want to just?
Yeah, sure. We could go there.
I don't know if you were chomping at the bit for the Trump one yet.
Oh no, we could go. We could go there. We're good.
Okay, cool. So let me pull it up real quick. That one I didn't already have.
Who did the interview?
It was Nick Cruz and Compton J. And so it was like, I'm not sure if it was a longer snippet or if it was just a short that they had. I want to say it was maybe 15 minutes. So it's not bad to be able to just play the whole thing. I guess I'm about to just click on an episode and go from there.
I'm ready.
I guess maybe they've gotten to the point where now they're starting to annoy some people. Because they used to okay, what is happening there? It used to, whenever I look for RBN, they would just pop straight up easily. Now they're showing a couple of episodes, and you got to dig for their main title page. What is going on with my channel? It's doing some weird stuff. I mean, with my laptop, oh, it's probably not doing anything weird. It's probably because I've made everything super big on this link here, so that everybody can see it. There it is. Got it. Yeah, I guess it's about 15 minutes long. We'll go into a good chunk of it. We won't have to watch the whole thing. I don't know why they don't go deep into stuff, except, you know, well, I think people are just, everybody has their lane, and they're focused on I can't even think of what it's called right now. And not general aid. What is it? I don't know. Help me. Help me out there in the chat. Mutual aid. Mutual aid. I feel like that's probably more the focus of what a lot of what they do is pushing mutual aid.
I mean, that's far superior than, you know, fundraising and then trying to figure out who needs what when. I mean, it's just an evolved version of it, you know.
Which then that's what I'm saying. They have their things that they do that's needed, and I feel like we need to be doing what we're doing. And so if they were covering all the same kind of stuff we're covering, then I think it would take away from the stuff that they're doing over there. And it kind of like how we don't cover a lot of those different things that they might be covering. I think it gives the balance so that the audience is able to get some things from us, go get some things from them. Just like back in the old days, everybody didn't just go to a Walmart. You had to go over here to this market store, and then here to the hardware store, and then here to that. And, you know, it helped out the whole entire community instead of all of it going to one big conglomerate.
Exactly. Because, you know, I go to like 4 or 5 stores. It's like ingrained in me, you know, because I've been doing that.
says they always talk about beefs, RBN, with RBNs, they could do more. Yeah, well, I mean, that's possible. When you're doing content creating, you really only have enough room to kind of follow a couple of different people. We don't always have time to catch everything that everybody else is doing. So I can't, necessarily diss them too much, or give them great praise, because I don't know everything that they're doing or not doing, and I wouldn't want to say that they're not doing something that they might have receipts that they're doing. So I mean, I just think that I do believe that their heart is in the right place, intentions are in the right place, and we all just got to do our best. So let's play a little bit of this. Yeah, that's all we can do. Also, everybody don't have all the same knowledge. I guarantee you, stuff which Steve talks about and the Jason Burmas talks about, a lot of content creators have no clue about this information. And it's not a slight or a diss to these other content creators who might not know it, but we all just don't know what we all don't know, So without further ado, let's get into it. To set this clip up, I guess this gentleman, they're sharing a clip from a gentleman who is, I believe his ancestors are Holocaust survivors, and they get a reparation check. And I guess that sparked interest in them covering this. So here we go.
People together to talk about reparations. And one of those
Turn it up a little bit.
was this young man here whose grandfather receives a check from Germany as a reparations check. And I thought it's a really interesting point, because we don't hear a lot about that, right? We don't hear a lot that other countries are dealing with reparations in a better, far better way, or at all, than we do here. So I guess if you roll the
wow, so this is a story of a actual reparations check, reparations check. So did I spell reparation? I'm a bad speller. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
So let's play the video. This is the first video. Let's listen.
My grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. His name is Karl Woltman. My grandfather's family is from Poland. My grandpa survived the war, but his mother and his father were killed. All four of his grandparents were killed in Treblinka, or they're killed in their hometown of Stashev.
Marcus, I could barely hear that.
Grew up watching.
Yeah, I got him up loud. I guess they don't have theirs up that loud.
Every day with the pain of what happened to him as a child.
We can skip forward past this guy's comments and get to when they start talking, because that's more when it gets a little more interesting.
That are in the
Can be done. It is being done. So don't tell me you can't afford it. Don't tell me there's no way of doing it. Don't tell me the checks, when I don't want to send you direct payments, it can be done.
The white people have benefited tremendously from the powers that be, the privileges that we have, and that comes with a responsibility to know that to know.
For those that can't hear what he said there, he said white people have benefited tremendously from some of the things that have been done, and we can do more. Speaking, I guess, as a white person. Actually, let's see. Here's a closed captions. Let's see if that helps.
Be responsible for the fact that we can't let this continue. And Brian Stevenson talks about race and racism as if a smog. And I think this indifference that we seem to have, it's like almost like this elephant or the smog that exists, where it clouds our ability to truly be in a relationship with each other. And engaging in reparations work is an opportunity for white people to take this head on, and as an opportunity for our own atonement. Atonement happens, I believe, in part through action, and the words "I am sorry" is an action, but so too commitment to dedicate financial resources to support the liberation of Black people could be a very monumental action. It's a way for us to cleanse our own souls as white people, and also to build continue to build relationships with Black people, our friends, our neighbors, fellow citizens.
Thank you. And this is an interview you did yourself, you conducted?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's a general rule. All the interviews I ever post, I've done. Otherwise, I will frame someone else's interview. So as a general rule, if you see my interview up there, I took it.
White people.
Let me take that off. Sorry. Go ahead now.
And yeah, I thought it was a very important story because it's an untold story, right? We have to tell the story, not just about what other countries have done, like Germany, and that's important, but we have to also tell the story from white perspective as well. And what I mean by that is, let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, YouGov did a survey, and they asked the question, do you believe that slavery has had a significant effect on the Black-white wealth gap today? And 73% of African Americans said, yes, it does. And only 16% of whites who responded said,
did y'all hear that? 16% of whites believe it. So remember we're talking about that survey of people not really, people self-censoring. So some people are like, oh yeah, they need reparations. Then when you really start talking to them, you start hearing all these excuses. When really you find out that person's actually a no. And by that number, I don't know what poll that's from. I can't state the validity of that poll, or if the numbers are different if you expanded that poll out, or if they drop. But what that says there, at least in that poll, is there's a lot of white people who do not feel slavery was that big of a deal. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because they get into a lot of interesting stuff. So I wanted us to, take some time to reflect on some of the things that are said on here. And shout out to Denver over there on Rockfin. Much love to you, Denver. But let's continue.
yes, it does. Which tells me 84% of whites, if that survey is correct, have absolutely no idea about the impact of slavery. That it's more than a what's your position on reparations. We need a mass white education project to bring people together. And it's not just the Republicans here. 34% is liberals have no clue if they don't think that slavery had an impact on the white-black wealth gap. So we have to look at this as an opportunity to educate white people. Some white people are never going to come along. I get that. Oh my God, I didn't do anything. I didn't own a slave. I get that. Go away. But there's a portion that we have to talk to and we have to educate and understand that your status today, as the young man said, I benefited, all white people benefited from slavery economically, indirectly. We have to educate and talk about that and tell the truth so we can bring those numbers up.
That is such a great point, because I think honestly when you look at the massive resistance to the idea of reparations, it's mostly rooted in ignorance. There have been a lot of white comrades who I deeply appreciate who said, I didn't really know that much about reparations. I didn't think it was important. Then they saw our coverage of it. They're like, oh, okay, I see, I'm on board. Like, it's just wild. And this is, I'll give you guys an example. And we were talking about slavery. You brought slavery. That's a good example. But there are a lot of white people, they will say stuff like, well, you wasn't a slave, so why should you get reparations? I'm like, it's way more than, like, even if you don't agree with the generational wealth argument that we were making, there's redlining, there's civil asset forfeiture, there's broken windows policing. You guys know civil asset forfeiture targets Black Americans at a 65% rate, and we are 13% of the population. Our state has imposed aggressive fines and fees against us, allow Wall Street to literally commit mortgage fraud, which tanked our wealth. So people just bring up slavery. Yes, slavery was a giant thing, but if you look at everything in between, the lynchings that they did, that was coordinated with law enforcement, what do you think happens to a white people? Please think about this. What happens to a family if your primary breadwinner is lynched? You got mother, you got dad, you got father, you got two kids. The father is lynched. What happened to that family economically? Thousands of families were impacted by this. That is not slavery. We talking about the 1900s.
Right.
Then,
what about kidnapping?
Yes.
And not knowing your ancestries. What's the value of not knowing where our family's from in Africa? What's the value of our language being like? It's because they're told this one-dimensional story of slavery. Yeah, we brought them over here in some boats. They don't really even describe the boats, so maybe they think it's a cruise ship or something like that. So they brought them over here. They brought them over here in some boats, right? And they got here, and it's almost like they tell the story where they just basically worked overtime. They worked a lot, and that's it. They picked cotton, and we're not telling you what the value of all that cotton they picked and how that helped build our nation and how it helped do all this stuff. That's completely irrelevant. That's all they did. Yeah, there were a couple of rapes here and there, but nothing massive. There were a couple of hangings, and there were some people at white sheets and they burned, but that was all in the past. That has nothing to do with now. And it's the absurdity of it. But I don't, when in that poll where it says only 16%, I think if you took a lie detector test, that would be like 90% wouldn't think that, yes, we should probably give them. It's part of white culture to resist the idea of atonement to slavery, because it's an acknowledgement that your pristine America is great is all a joke. So you have to make slavery a footnote and not, this was a slave state. This wasn't a footnote. It was a slave state. The reason why we even became a superpower was because we were able to build up this value and create this production. It's no other production in production of the amount of product that slavery was able to produce. There's nothing in human history that comes close. When you're talking about the production of a society, there's nothing in human history that comes close. So it's all about denying. It's all about denying history, because it's almost like American white culture is to sugarcoat everything. It's to we don't want to really talk about that, and it's never to really address things. Go ahead.
That's why much props for Chuck talking about it. Cause we need maybe I shouldn't do this, but I was about to say white allies. Maybe I shouldn't assume, but we need people out there making those strong arguments that outside of our community as well. Let me just say it that way. There are a lot of people. To your point, that's such a great point, CJ. This atonement is there's a debt owed as well, and there are a lot of white people. They just can't swallow that pill that their society, their generational wealth is because of this. Because of slavery. Right. So if we pay reparations, that's something they admit. They will have to admit that, which is actually part of the healing process, which makes it extremely important. Now, to show you guys how ridiculous these people are, they pretend that we are radical for asking for reparations. They pretend that we are asking for a once in a no one ever did this. You guys are asking for a government to pay you guys. What is that? People pretend that it's not a thing. Slave owners got reparations. Asian people who was Japanese people, I should say specifically, who were locked up because of Japanese internment camps was paid reparations, and I think they should. The Colombians, the Colombian vice president, the first ever black female vice president, she ran on a ticket of the United States and the Colombian government paying their people reparations for pushing the drug war, which I support. I support reparations for the Palestinian people. I support reparations for the people who was had their rights violated at ICE detention camps. Reparations is literally the most class-based struggle you can ask for, because you are demanding the ruling class pay the workers and the people who was exploited their labor back, their generational wealth back. It is
there is an economic capitalist slant framing to this whole reparations argument, because if you
all right, so Chris, I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Do I think reparations should be paid to the descendants of slaves and everything else that has come along with being, someone of African descent here in the United States? Yes, I do think so. However, just think about it. The same people who enslaved your ancestors and, and gave you freedom and then turned around and put you in prison, I don't know why you would think that they're at all interested in making you whole or making you even financially equal or even average to other groups. Makes no sense to me. They don't like you. They never have. They never will. They're never going to provide reparations to people, to people who look like us. It's just not in the cards, kid. It's like, who cares? There's not enough of us, even though there's a ton of us. But you get my drift.
I see a comment in here which it kind of irritates me a little bit from General Savage. General Savage is focusing on if the chat knows who the first slaver was in America. And I asked, what's the relevance? Because who were majority of the slave owners in America? And who were the people who they were enslaving? And what did they take from those enslaved? Doesn't matter if one of them you can find might have been a native, one of them might have been a black. That's not the point or the relevance of any of that. JP Morgan Chase and a lot of these major banks wouldn't be what they would be without slavery. The White House wouldn't be sitting there if it wasn't for slavery. You can't sit there and think that you can just name one person or erase the fact that slavery was done by majority colonizing Europeans. Some Native American tribes did take part in it. Some free African, so-called African slaves took part in it. That still doesn't erase who benefited from it. That still doesn't erase the wounds and the damages that came up from it. And so to even go into who was the first one, and that's irrelevant, completely irrelevant.
It is.
That's like saying, well, how many black billionaires are there? There's a couple, but there's not. When you start comparing the percentage of how many billionaires are black, then you get down into virtually nothing percentages. That's an irrelevant line of that's a very pointless train of thought to even go down. And what that sounds like is, if somebody is thinking that way, that sounds like they are trying to diminish away from the relevance of the topic and issue. I hope that's not what you're hinting towards, General Savage. Yeah, that Rick Ross fried chicken slavery, yeah, that gets you up out of here. That gets you up out of here. So
what was that?
I don't. Whoever the general, whatever was, they were already asking some weird questions to a couple other people in the chat, and so I wasn't feeling where they were coming from. And it looks like maybe some of those racist people who, once they see the name reparations, they come running in to hop into a discussion. I don't have time for any of that. So they can take a hike.
I just don't think this government composed of the people it's composed of, controlled by the people and entities that it's controlled by, is ever going to say, hey, here's trillions of dollars to you guys for what you've went through. I just don't see it.
Well, of course I don't see it. But I mean, I look at the reality which we're living in. And some people, they, no matter what color they are, they can see and understand. And say, for even there's some people which I know of which have found out their ancestors were slave masters, and they're deeply sorry for it. And like, hey, if we can find some way to rectify this, cool, let's do this. My issue isn't with these people. My issue was with people that try to diminish it or act like it's nothing or that it was irrelevant and things like that. These are the people I have a problem with. These are the types of people I have a problem with. He was funny. No, he wasn't funny. He was being an asshole, and that's why he got blocked. I don't have time for that. When I literally know ancestors that, I mean, on all sides of my family, through each grandparent, have horrendous stories, which I've heard. I've met, you know, I'm not even gonna go down that route. I'm just gonna say that I don't find any of that shit funny at all. And I will not play around or tolerate that stuff.
Hey, y'all heard the man. Look around and find out.
Yeah, so I mean, well, and I look at it like this. Slavery literally built the modern foundations of the world we're in. You guys remember that video which I showed where it showed Great Britain? There's literally more countries that have their independence from Great Britain, I mean, than anybody anywhere else in the world. And so if you look at the power which colonialism gave to European nations and America by extension and New Zealand and all those once they became colonized also, and the impact that they had even on the continent of Africa and South America and throughout the different Asian continents. I definitely don't want to hear nobody making no fucking excuses and trying to push blame off on the victim in this case. It's like the situation, if a woman wore a short skirt, well, you're gonna start blaming her because she got raped? I'm not playing that shit. Not at all.
No.
So, you know, it don't have to be about anybody understanding who was the first person and this. No. All that is ridiculous. So the reason why there's even a such thing as white supremacy is because slavery is allowed one continent, one group of people, Indo-Europeans, literally take over the whole entire planet and hold it. Now, Shelley said in there, slavery goes back to the early parts of civilization. That is true, but it wasn't always like this kind of slavery. Every single place it wasn't chattel slavery. And also everybody didn't, when other nations enslaved, it wasn't like when Egypt was enslaving that they literally came over to the Americas and then went to Asia and then went to Europe. And then that's so we can't just group it all in the same thing and just toss it over our shoulders and ignore it. Let's see, Marxist says that young Morpheus highly recommended A. Bristol, R.I. and Matanza, Cuba slavery. Oh yeah. That's good ones to go into. But yeah, it when you literally don't even have a good chunk of your history because slavery, what you're living through right now, I'm not gonna play that. Oh, let's just all ignore it like it's no. Many of you guys can go back 10, 15 generations, be able to trace your ancestors back. Many of us can't, and that's something that is missing from us, that does leave us incomplete, even without the money, without the traumas and all that. So, you know.
It's very important.
Yep, slaves in prison to this very day. True. That is true. So let's get on to our next topic. Did you have a video, Chris? What you wanted to add for it? We want to talk about Trump and Mar-a-Largo.
Oh, no. I didn't have one, but I did want to just talk about them running in his spot like that, though. I was just reading that comment from Shelley.
Yeah, I was reading it also. That's part of the reason. But also, you got to have slaves. It wasn't because they completely genocided them. You got to have slaves that can't run away. Natives were, because it's part of my ancestry of natives too. They were running away back to the reservations. They were fighting it out guerrilla warfare style, some of them, and constantly moving to other places. And you would prefer a slave that they can't run away. They didn't know this terrain, so yes, get people who are from this terrain that aren't from this terrain to know how to escape. I mean, so it's a sore spot, so we'll leave it there. Yes, not Hamza, but yeah, Denver was saying 16%. Yeah, and that's a lot of people I'll hear, even they'll say, well, I'll say, well, the elites are racist. And they'll say, well, they hate us all. Here's the thing. There's some truth to that. But it's kind of like this. If I'm a bad parent, I got 5 kids, and I treat 4 of the kids bad, but I really beat the shit out of the other kid, you have to be able to denote that there's something different going on. They're all being treated badly, but if this one is being treated far worse, you can't just ignore that and group them all in because all of them are suffering to some degree. I mean, it's a difference between, you know, you dropping the elbow on one kid and you picking up a baseball bat and beating the other one for 15 minutes. That can't just be ignored and skipped past. And the fact that it's went on for a very, very long period of time. In all honesty, the elites just start treating everybody like shit only, a decade or 2 ago. We can't just act like, because now everybody's getting it. It erases the 400 or 500 year head start of us being treated like shit by everybody around the world. So that's what I had to say. Yes, and even when we tried to separate off and do our own fucking thing, like Denver brought up, you have the Black Wall Streets. And I did a thing for Black History Month where I brought up there's like 40 or 50 different versions of Black Wall Street that happened. Or even when Black people tried to separate, they still decided, let's go over there and go destroy what the hell you have built up. So can't just act like it's all completely even and there's no difference in what was going on. Denver, last comment here says, to your point, Marcus, at one point in history, England and Spain and Portugal, I forgot, they made a declaration of war on behalf of the world that belonged to each of them. Exactly. Why do you think that, majority of the world speaks an Indo-European language? I mean,
they did most of the conquering.
Exactly. It's a reason why Spain, that little bitty country over there, has a damn near a whole 75% of a whole continent that speaks their language. That when you have that level of conquering going on, it can't just be brushed under the rug as the same as other kind of stuff that happened. You know, it's like comparing somebody who stole a wallet to a hedge fund manager that steals billions. They're not the same. They're both thieves, but they're not the same. Sorry, I'm gonna keep going. I don't want to get on a rant, and I'm not going against anybody. I just want everybody to take in that there is a difference, and I'm not bringing up this difference so that I can go and attack people who don't fall up under, descendants of slavery. It's not what I'm doing. Just like with the whole critical race theory stuff, a lot of people want to duck away from that, and they say, "Oh, well, if you're talking about that stuff, you're just trying to bring division and not bring us together." No, if somebody has a wound and you just try to skip past the wound, it doesn't erase that wound that's there. You only get past that wound by dealing with the wound. That's the reason why Germany was paying the reparations. That's the reason why, they literally talk about the Holocaust openly. America is the one who wants to try to sweep it under the rug and act like the shit didn't happen. And not only America wants to do it. Great Britain wants to do it. France wants to do that. Italy wants to do that. And then I can go into Denmark and all of these other nations that had parts in this, because I don't think people realize it was a concerted effort throughout majority of Europe to do this transatlantic slave trade. I mean, do people know that there are literally Native Americans who live in places like Sweden and Denmark because of the transatlantic slave trade? I mean, do people realize that there is a place in Africa that speaks Spanish? Why are Africans speaking Spanish? Because they were colonized by the Spaniards. France, as small as it is, why does half of the Caribbean speak French? And still to this day, even though these captivities ended a while ago, I mean, how would you feel as you're Jamaican? You still, the Queen is all the way across all the way in, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, and you still got to see her funky ass face on your money. I mean, I don't think people understand for especially Native ancestry or Black or Latino, what it's like to still have to see the faces of the people who were literally enslaving your ancestors on your fucking money. And then have to hear people in this society talk about them as patriots and heroes and great. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm done. My boy Chris, he don't have much longer. I told him, all right, we're gonna get in this other subject because I still got one more, and I'll take it on my own. And then if you guys want to hit questions, we can go into that definitely. But let's get into this Trump stuff because there's so many different folds on this that I would like to go into. Sir, please add in. Hey, Liz. Say, is the movie over there? Y'all having fun? No, they Liz and her brother, and they're in the next room. They're watching the movie, having good times. But yeah, this Trump, Ray, what are your thoughts on it? Because we've all heard about it by now. I mean,
well, my thing is, are they going to release the what was it they were supposed to release? The full subpoena?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, what it is they said they wanted to release a full subpoena. Then they said that they believe that there was classified information, and they even threw out nuclear codes and all kind of stuff that they said that they were seeking in the warrant.
So again, I when I first saw something about it, it was last week, right? And
I agree.
The small
Black
little
Phone,
detail,
good movie, super good.
The last little detail I remember hearing was that the National Archives were involved, and I was saying I think it was maybe even to my pops because I think he had it on MSNBC, and I think I told him, I said, look, they're mentioning the National Archives as being one of the people who complained about Trump having these documents. Clearly, there's nothing fucking criminal there if they're involved. And even if something super criminal is involved, they wouldn't be mentioning the National Archives. Fuck that. It's a nothing thing. This is all about the bullshit. Nothing more. It's about making him look bad by any means necessary.
I agree. I mean, that's one thing I love about you, Chris. You're able to take something that's complex and simplify that shit all the way down. Because I mean, that's what it is. It's, I mean, how I see it, and I want you guys to all walk with me for a little bit. Biden gets in the office, narrowly beats Trump, and there's all kind of theories, possibility that he didn't even beat Trump. But we're not going to go there because we're on YouTube. Don't want to get in trouble. But let's just say, okay, he narrowly beats him, right? Well, what's one of the first things he does is starts pissing people off? The way he handles the whole pandemic stuff. He gets his liberal base happy, but he starts pissing off first the right. And then it starts pissing off people in the middle. Then it even starts pissing off people like us who kind of, we're like, oh, whoa, we're tired of Democrats and the Republicans. And when you get to the point where you start pissing off everybody who's basically not a Democrat, that's one issue that you're having. You got people losing their jobs and all that because they won't get the shot. And you got all of this stuff going on. We also saw a massive rise in censorship after Trump got in the office from social media platforms. That's not something that we didn't notice. We also had the way it was handled, supply chain slowdowns. You also had that Biden rode into power saying that he was going to do student loan debt. He was going to try to do $15 hour, you know,
minimum wage.
$15 minimum wage.
He said he was going to get his son to stop smoking crack and losing his iPhone and iPad, you know, so he hasn't been able to do that yet because there's still more shit out there about Hunter Biden. So,
well,
you know,
there was a lot. There's a lot
I know.
that he said that he was going to do that he didn't do.
Oh, yeah.
He said he was going to do all this legislation for black people that he didn't do.
Jokes. Oh, they got
And
jokes.
so he decides, well, I can give you guys a couple of black faces in positions, and hopefully that'll pacify you. And I mean, I remember, Dr. Umar was one of the first people. He was like, "Now, I'm not trying to come at this group. I'm just trying to say, first thing Biden did when he got into office, he wrote a bill for the LGBTQ community."
Mm-hmm.
And Asian, Asian crime, hate Asian crime, whatever. I'm not saying hate Asians. I'm saying a bill to stop Asian hate crimes. So you're doing this stuff, you're doing that stuff, and you were telling black people all this time you were going to have a black agenda, you were going to do this, you were going to do that. The very people who got you over the edge. And then you decide, you know what? I'm going to start pandering to the Latino community, while at the same time carrying on Trump's border policies and all this stuff like that, and treating all Latinos as if they're all the same. Then, on top of that, with the supply side, and you piss off most of them too, because you have Latinos, that's a 50-50. Doesn't matter which president, it's going to be 50-50. It might go 60-41 election towards the Democrats, maybe flip 60-40 back the other way. But you take the constituent, which gives you 90%, voter turnout, and opt for the one who gives you 50-50. You don't think that black people noticed that and that was going to be a problem. Well, then you have gas prices go up. Then you have the whole Ukraine shit, and you're throwing money out. I mean, I don't know if you guys just noticed, just approved like another $700 million to Ukraine. So another 700 plus million you just did to Ukraine when you got all of these issues. You got, wait a minute, I forgot about this. What was it? The foreclosure, not foreclosure, but with the rent or the eviction moratorium. You had all these people getting kicked out of their homes right and left. And you're not trying to do anything to stop any of this stuff.
High streets.
There's streets that got to dip out or something. But you got all of this stuff that's been going on that you haven't been doing. Oh, hey Ruby, you got all of this stuff that you said you were going to do that you haven't done. None of this shit. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, then you had the Hunter Biden stuff, which everybody was saying was real. You were literally getting accounts shut down because they talked about it. Now you guys are admitting that it was real. All this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. First, and again, like we talked about this then too. It's not as if we're big super fans of the New York Post, but fuck. The New York Post had an article and they wouldn't let them post their article online because of the information it contained as it relates to Hunter Biden.
Yeah, let me read this one. Antu says, some people voted for Biden because they really thought he was less scary than Trump, and in some ways he is. We should not alienate him. Well, what we talked about here, if they were listening to us, they would have knew better. Because what we told everybody from the jump.
Hey, Ruby.
Trump does a lot of talking. And no matter how scary what Trump says, Trump does not execute. He does not execute. He's just talking. It's all just running his damn mouth. And if you can get used to it and just ignore his running his damn mouth, then you be good. Biden is actually going to do stuff. And it is going to be negative. And I'm like, you got to remember, Biden, for the black community, has literally been the worst politician for black people for 50 years. Literally been the most destructive. So if you guys are more worried about a person who's talking versus a person who's doing, and obviously you're so comfortable in the position you're in that it really doesn't matter who gets in there. Yeah, Antu says, lately I see alienation in many spaces that come from that area. I apologize. English is not my first language. Don't need to apologize. I'm just saying that we have been on it over here about you are literally choosing, do I want this person to possibly shoot me, or do I want this person who I know is going to stab me 50 times? That's Biden. Biden is going to hurt you. And another thing, he's a war hawk. And he's a war hawk. You know, with Biden, we going into some kind of damn war. That's what he's done his whole career. Iraq, Afghanistan, let's see, what was it? Bosnia, Kosovo. He's all on board for that. Desert Shield, Iran-Contra. This dude has been a part of all of this stuff. And then he goes all the way back to the busing shit. So, I mean, I did, 4 videos, I think, on Biden showing his history. Yes, the media is not supposed to focus on that. And many content creators chose not to focus on that too. TYT, one of the biggest ones. That's the reason why I laugh at Cenk when he has the nerve to talk about Brianna as a fake leftist. Like, no, you're the fakest that there possibly is. I mean, Cenk, it cracks me up that he has the nerve to say anything to anybody. Yes, Biden is more dangerous. But the one thing I do want to bring up about Trump, which nobody brings up, is, are we all while we're talking about Hunter Biden, we got to remember Jared Kushner is far worse than Biden. I'm talking about Biden Jr. Jared Kushner, the shit that Jared Kushner was doing and is still doing, doesn't get talked about at all. And it needs to be. This dude is playing around with billions of dollars. And we're worrying about the crackhead over here. I mean, I get it. It's juicy. President's son is a crackhead and playing with hookers and basically making porn tapes. I get it. It's exciting. But this dude over here, what do you call that group of people, Chris? About the hats? What do you call them?
Oh, the tiny hats.
He happens to wear a tiny hat himself, and that's somebody you need to be worried about. Exactly, Liz. 93 crime bill. I mean, if you grew up in any city and you had cops up in your face, that's because of Biden. If you had cops who were sitting up there running through your community in all these basically armored tanks, this is because of Biden. You got crack floating through your streets, which ironically, some of that's because of Hunter Biden. But Joe Biden had a big part to do with a lot of different stuff. If you have family members who have went away to jail for years because they had a little bit of weed in their pocket, that's Joe Biden. Joe Biden has done far more to destroy many families. And so my rant that jumped off, I guess I jumped a little bit off the rails a little bit, but my point is, when you've been doing this bad since you've been in office, you got to find a way to stop the one person you know that can definitely knock your ass out of office. They tried the January 6th stuff. That didn't really work. They even tried first they tried the impeachment stuff on the way out. That didn't work. Even the Russiagate stuff, they tried that. They tried all this stuff to make sure that they can keep Biden in office. Now, in my opinion, both of them are still going to fulfill the wishes of the Masonic organizations and the Illuminati. But with Biden, there's not even going to be a question. You got one who's going to do what he's told, and he might fight back and I don't really want to do this. This is BS. Or he's so focused on how much money he can make personally, which I feel that's mostly what Trump is about. How much money can I make out of this shit before I get out the door and not end up in prison? But Joe Biden is 100% on board with everything they want to do. And now that he's in the Weekend at Bernie's type state, you know, he's rubber stamping everything they want to do. So I honestly feel like all this Mar-a-Lago stuff is all about stopping Trump from running. And it's not that I want Trump in office. I just know that they really will go that far not to lose. And if you look into some of the people, the same people who were part of the Russiagate stuff are the same people who are involved in this.
And yeah.
When they literally are under review right now by the higher ups in the FBI, but somehow these guys got allowed to go and do what they. I don't know. This shit just don't sound right.
Yeah, it's very weird, man.
Oh yeah, right. 3 strikes.
It.
Also, thanks, Liz.
Yeah, I don't trust it either.
Yeah, onto yeah, there were plenty of other complicit parties. I would say everybody who was trying, we got to push them to the left, they're complicit. Every news organization that was trying to shove down the stuff that was going on, they're complicit. That's the crack in the streets or the crack where they're taking away from Hunter. Yeah, either way. I don't let Trump and I don't know what you mean by letting Trump and Republicans off the hook with that argument. The thing about it is, if you're supposed to be somewhat to the left, we should always be more concerned with what the left is actually doing. The right never signed up and said, I'm going to try to get some of the shit you want done. They've never, ever, ever in my lifetime ever been like, yeah, I'm going to help with these democratic processes or these democratic policies. And so the argument of worrying about what the Republicans are doing.
And in fact, the Republicans, you can look, they run around saying that the Democrats are bad. Democrats have, you know, black people on the plantation, all that other bullshit they say as it relates to black people in the Democratic Party. Yet, election time, they're never in the community. You can't find them people anywhere, ever. They're never there.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Fascist is a fascist, just like I believe we live in a fascist state. Point blank, period. And if you're in the mindset that we're in, that the Illuminati and elite are really controlling all this stuff, worrying about Republican or Democrats doesn't matter, because they're basically, most of them are in the bag. If you know that, what was it, Sharma Chawan, in her city council race, they dropped $1 million into that. That shows you that the elites are micro-focused down to even the smallest groups. It's not just about Senate or Congress or president or your governor or mayor. It's all the way down to your city council, your aldermans. They're looking that far down. Now, I'm not saying that you can't necessarily get some good ones here and there, but just know, majority of the system they have already on lock. And if any of your people start trying to rise up, they're getting taken out. Yeah, Myra's mom, next week, I honestly think that it's time for me to bring up a lot of Jared Kushner and what he's really got going on. Because I talk, like you all know who follow me for a long time, I talk about them all. I do not believe in letting any of these elites off the hook. Oh shoot, let's see. Read a couple of Denver's comments over here before Chris get out. Is it about providing the fuel for the preceded confirmation?
Let me go grab my dog.
Oh, go ahead. Say, I'm far left, and I was adamantly against warp speed, as it was intended to be the delivery mechanism of already truncated drug approval process. That was grounds alone for rejection of any warp speed outputs. I took the position as soon as warp speed was announced. Biden is more effective evil following Trump for consolidating state authority. 1,000% true. Biden is further right than Trump. He actually is, because if you look at it on paper, Trump doesn't get anything done. Trump doesn't actually get anything done. He talks. and then everybody else tries to form it all together at Hamza Mir, like the movie Dave. Yes, it is. So that was my comments that I wanted to get to, and that's what I needed Chris for. I know Chris has to get going here shortly, but I do have one more topic that I wanted to get into with everyone here. Let me see, where's it at? This one right here. Let me pause it. Okay. Chris, are you back?
No, I'm here. I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I know that you need to get out of here.
No, it's all right. We go ahead. We do this next one.
All right. So, yeah, I got a clip that I wanted to share. Let's see. If Baba is in here, this is a story that Baba is definitely going to want to catch because this is right up her alley. This is also something I heard her already talking about in the chat. So I'm very curious to hear Baba's thoughts on this. What was that? Wesley says so no President Harris before 2024. Yeah, I mean, I thought we might have seen Harris. I think if these things don't get done, because I still said, and Chris can, we can go back and double check it, and maybe one of these days I will, just so we can have it, have our receipts. Me and Chris were trying to predict when we figured that Biden would no longer be there. I think Chris said 6 months to a year, Kamala will be coming into power. And I think I said right after the primaries. Because my thinking, my calculations anyway, and I could be wrong, is that they wanted to, because they believe that for some reason Biden would be the stronger move, they will try to keep Biden to possibly run in during the primaries to kind of help boost certain Democrats. I don't know if that's going to work, but I believe that that's their thinking. And then directly after that, once they've exhausted all of these different methods that they were going to try to do to prop up Biden administration, because he's the one that they really, really want. And if they can't get Biden, Yipper says it right there. Pete Buddha. I'm not going to say the name I came up with. I don't even.
They want Pete. They want Pete Buttigieg so bad.
I used to call him Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah,
so
whatever his name is.
Pete Buttigieg, Edge.
But they want him. They really
they want him.
him.
Yeah, and by default, they're still trying to play identity politics game, and so they know right now, as far as identity politics bingo, Kamala still trumps out in their little bingo card, but gay is right next to it. Gay is right up under. So if they can't get woman of color, okay, throw gay. And I think their goal would be running in 2024. I'm not sure. Well, of course, Kamala would have to be at the top of the ticket because she's the vice president. But I think their goal would be Kamala and Pete. So I'm just telling you,
that's disgusting.
Be prepared the possibility of seeing Kamala and Pete. You guys heard it here. It's disgusting. Oh yeah, definitely Hamza. Kamala is dumb, but you got to remember, it's not about how dumb Kamala is. It's about the arrogance and the stupidity. Well, think about it. Biden was literally barely able to talk, but they pushed his ass over the finish line. And what they're going to do is, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kamala is so not impressive, just as a politician, not even her politics. This is a politician. She's garbage.
She's completely sold out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, and they know she's completely sold out. They want somebody that they don't even have to be like, hey, so were you planning on screwing over those migrants? Already did it. They're like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. They don't want somebody that they got to tell to do the stupid shit. They want somebody who is so in line that they're going to be trying to bootlick and ass kiss the elites so much that they're going to be doing the damage before the elites can even tell them what they want them to do. Whereas with Trump and a DeSantis, they're going to have to kind of nudge them. Hey, this is really what we want you to do here. And they're like, oh, all right, we'll do it. Because what happens with a lot of these elites is they get something on them at an early point. If not that they're already a mole from the start. So either they're a mole and they're just an operative for these people, or they leverage them to force them into doing what they want them to do. I saw a couple of the comments there. Yeah, Kamala is no more dumb than George W. Bush. Good point, Wesley. That they're not going to do Gavin and Kamala. The reason why they're not going to do Gavin and Kamala is because remember what we said, identity card, politics. Gavin Newsom is all he's going to bring is California. That wine country, they would want it. That's ultimately who they would want because they know he's going to do everything they want. But they're trying to use the minority identity politics thing. And if they can, right now it's hot to be a part of the LGBTQ community. They can use that as a vehicle to keep people in power. That's what they're going to do. A young gay man who barely won a mayoral election in small western town totally deserves to be president. Exactly. That's what they're going to do. That's exactly what they're going to do. Or will it be Liz Cheney and Democrats versus Trump? No way possible. Nobody is putting their money on Liz Cheney who wants to actually win. Nobody's doing that.
But
that
they
was
would
just a suicide mission.
But they would damn sure have you think that Liz is super popular. The way that they put her on TV, because again, I don't watch TV, but I was at home, in New York, they have on the TV, my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not watching, but, I walked by and see the headline from MSNBC. They were like in love with that chick on the TV.
Yeah.
She's the bravest and the boldest and
But if you're a Republican, which Democrats love, you're already done.
Mm-hmm.
You're already done because this is something Democrats can't get through their thick skulls.
If we called him the evil emperor, like his daughter didn't grow up with like Obi-Wan or nothing like that. No, she grew up right under his evil ass.
Booty bitch. That's what Pete Booty bitch.
That's gonna get you hit, kid.
I'm gonna blame it on Liz.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's what they really want. I mean, well, here's the thing. Anytime you're a Republican, you do that, they look at you as a complete turncoat. They're not rocking like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans are not going to vote for you. And then when you switch over, you're not going to get the left flank of the Democratic Party, and you end up in the same situation you're in as Joe Biden's in. And that might be fine in the primaries, but if Liz Cheney makes it, why not just put up what's her name from Minnesota? Klobuchar. Exactly. Liz Cheney is basically Klobuchar. I mean, if Liz Cheney can run, why not Kirsten Sinema? I think it might be plausible that the highest powers that are using the Democrats and Republicans to achieve their goals. I completely agree with that. They use one on one side to do something, and then when it gets demonized, they bring the other side in to bitch and moan about it. And then once that one gets in, they have a little bit of a favor for a while and political capital to push the other thing the elites do. And then this side crouches about it and it comes back into power while they're slowly getting unified into that one direction which they want to go into. So it's a game they're playing. It's just most people can't see it. Sleepy, sloppy, lost Joe. Oh yeah, let's talk about Andrew Tate. Well, I haven't done enough research on Andrew Tate to talk about Andrew Tate. I've only watched my boys Preach and Abba talk about him a little. Well, I saw the title of it. I didn't even watch it yet. Oh yeah, I guess I'm name dropping. Yes. So for those who don't know, I do watch Preach and Abba. I think those two are freaking hilarious. You familiar with Preach? Preach and Abba?
Oh yeah, I've been watching them. That's a couple years now.
They are hilarious.
Yeah, but they damn, what was you just saying? Preaching Abba? What were they talking about? Oh, Andrew Tate. I don't even know who that. I don't even know
Andrew Tate's the former MMA guy who like
I don't know.
He like basically runs almost like a harem. The way he treats his women, it's kind of some, I don't know. For an average guy, it just sounds weird.
Yeah, I don't.
But when you're rich and you have money and you can rock things, that's you do you. I mean, that's his world, and they allow him to do it. I mean, he has like multiple women. Antu, I think responds there says, is that what it is? He thinks women can't cheat on their men, but men can cheat on their women if they want. Yeah. So he's getting like supposedly being canceled right now. Oh yeah, he's a beast. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some of his fighting. He's a beast. He says he's a God-fearing man. Well, will remind me, Hamza, and since Hamza's always hooking us up with stuff, you know. Some of the topics I tell Hamza, I'm like, I'll try to cover this one. Some of this stuff Hamza be giving me be a little too spicy. So it might have to be a rock fan show for some of the stuff that Hamza says. But the stuff that I think I can get away with on here, I do bring up. But remind me, and I have to we'll spend some time talking about Andrew Tate. Antu also says he said the world's problems would be solved if every woman wore their number of guys they slept with on their forehead. Damn. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a whole ball of wax to get into. It's a lot. Andrew Tate says boys don't need fathers. I disagree. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot on him I got to get into. And Baba was like, what? Yeah, this topic I got for you here. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to drop that down. Hold on one second, everyone.
Hey, Marcus and crowd, I got to get out of here. It was fun. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. Marcus, I'm waiting for you to come back. I know you went off camera. I'm waiting for you to come back.
What you mean having you back? This is your damn show. You talking like you're a damn guest.
I know, right? Anyway, man. So, yo, look, I'm going to run, man. But, yo, I'm going to holler at you guys. I'll be listening in the background, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. So we'll holler at you, brother.
All right, guys.
All right, peace.
All right, peace.
All right, hello everyone. So, this topic that I wanted to get into, let's see. Let me bring the screen share up. Actually, let me double check my comments over on Rockfin. Denver said they would get crushed, which would be the more effective evil. Do people like either of those politicians? No. It's part of placing in the next more effective evil. Exactly. Because what they're doing is they're putting up, it's kind of the same thing what they do with these presidents. The reason why the military-industrial complex continues to get away with doing all these evil things. They bring in a person who's not very knowledgeable on most of the world events and what they should or shouldn't do. And which I hate that I don't have my coffee mug, so it'll look like I'm trying to sponsor this coffee company, and I do not sponsor them. So I guess what I'll do is I'll click the camera off when I drink my coffee, since I don't have it in my mug. I try not to broadcast any of the companies that I'm drinking their stuff, unless it's a company that I really do respect and like. That said, try to get old Emsgard on your show. That's interesting takes on the show. Well, I will. I mean, I did reach out to some of the people, Hamza, and I heard back from one, and it just, I guess it didn't work out getting her on. I'm not sure why. And then I just haven't heard back from the others. So I did reach out to like Riza and a couple of those your Islamic brothers, but just haven't heard back yet. And sometimes some of the bigger accounts, if they haven't really heard from you, they won't, necessarily respond right away. They might have to take their time to kind of vet you out. That's kind of how it works. I mean, I've learned that sometimes the hard way, that sometimes you do got to vet some of these people you bring on the channel because you don't know exactly where they might go with some stuff, and they might say some things which you get held responsible for that you don't necessarily agree with. And the audience is always not shut up, Yipper. They don't always believe the whole I don't support all the views of this whole this other person. They're like, yeah, right. You brought them on there because you agree with them. So you do got to be careful. Some of the people you bring on. I've had people on where we were in agreement on this one topic that I brought them on for, and things have kind of like went awry. Or I brought somebody on and they decided to start feuding with the people in the chat, and it just got ugly for me off camera because, whether you guys know it or not, I do get, emails and DMs from people, and some of them are pleasant and some of them are not pleasant. So just saying. So let me put this back up on the screen. This video, I believe, is titled, where did it go? Where did it go? I guess I'll just show it first. We don't need to argue with others, but it's good to have discussions with others. And that's what, especially when I do my interviews, that's what I try to do. My whole goal is to bring people on and they tell their perspective. That's the whole point. It's their perspective. I don't always necessarily agree with everything especially when I'm doing an interview. I don't agree with everything those people are saying all the time, but I bring them on because I do want to hear from their perspective and let them defend their own position. And then you guys can always suggest somebody or tell them, hey, why don't you reach out to, young Morpheus and then go on his channel or interview him? Because for those on Rockfin, who are only following on Rockfin, the Political Matrix, they might not realize that there are two separate, YouTube channels. One where I'm doing the interviews and the Political Matrix, which we have. So, it's those two. And I don't think I have an interview tomorrow, but I will be uploading, possibly. I definitely will be uploading some content. So look forward to that tomorrow. But this one, it says, let me shout out the channel first. Canadian Prepper. Canadian Prepper is the channel. I got referred to it by another prepper channel, which I watched. It says, world's leading bunker contractor warns the world. So let's make this big and let's get into it.
Before the war, I had met maybe one billionaire in my life. Since the war, I've met 8 now. The elites are coming out of the woodwork and they're buying these bunkers. It's the whole world wants these NBC filtration systems. Everybody's clamoring for them. Governments plan for nuclear attacks or dirty bombs and stuff like that. And of course, they pray it never happens. In the end, money's going to have no value. What's going to matter is food, supplies, medicine, clean water. People have to prepare when things are calm. They can't wait till wars break out. Otherwise, the prices are going to skyrocket. You're not going to be able to get the food and supplies. People always panic buy at the last minute. They got to stop doing that. It's better to have it, 5 years too early than get it 5 seconds too late.
Hi, folks. Canadian Prepper here, back again with Ron from Atlas Survival Shelters. In my personal opinion, probably one of the premium bunker contractors from around the world, one of the biggest and busiest, I would imagine. I want to have Ron back to understand the state of the industry right now. And for me personally, if there's any canary in the coal mine when it comes to what is going on in the world, it's the bunker building industry. Because if the people who have enough money to buy a bunker are starting to build them in mass, and that means that something is coming. Kind of like when the animals and the birds, fly away before an earthquake strikes. That's what I view it as. So, Ron, how are you doing, man? And maybe you can fill us in a bit on what is the state of the industry right now.
Well, it's busy, and it's been busy even before the war. The war just made it kind of crazy for me. It was the Monday after the war started. So the war started on a Wednesday or Thursday. Then that Monday afterwards is when my phone started ringing. And I'm talking every 30, 40 seconds. And it stayed like that for about 3 weeks. Then on the fourth week, it slowed down a little bit, but it was like every 2 to 3 minutes. And then the last week or two, it's really slowed down. It slowed down to like pre-war numbers for me anyway. But it's always been busy for me, because I have my YouTube channel as well. And that creates a lot of costs. So I've always been busy. But the war thing, I didn't need the war to be busy to make bunkers. We don't need the war, period. But the state of the industry was strong because of the COVID and the fact that we live in a world that's uncertain and people are afraid. It's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it attitude. And I preach to my followers as well about being prepared as well as you do. And so they're listening and they're doing the right thing. So the mentality of a lot of wealthy people who buy bunkers is that in a split second, they can lose all their millions overnight. And their attitude is, I'd rather take some of this money and put it in a bunker in the ground and hope I never need it and use that as my plan B than to not have one at all and then lose my money and what I got. I'm just like every other Joe Blow walking down the street looking for food. So that's why people are buying bunkers. And the bunkers I'm selling, as you know, they're going underneath houses.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that, which Pablo just said here. Ron claims he's not rich. Bitch, you're building massive luxury bunkers for the elites. You telling me that they're not playing a pretty penny. You can charge as much as you want overhead because you're providing a service, which many others can't, or maybe they don't trust. Well, because how elites are is they hear one or two other elites say, oh, go to this person, they're going to go to that person and they're going to deal with that person no matter what. Let's see, what else was it up there? Ron had his business set on fire a few months ago. Ooh. Oh, so you watch Canadian Prepper. Yeah, I'm going to start watching Canadian Prepper more also. I just decided to go over to his channel today, so definitely will be subscribing and seeing what he's talking about over there. Yes, dude is definitely loaded. It would make sense. Kelly says, I heard that New Zealand was big business for bunkers. Well, a lot of people in New Zealand are talking about how, not the people in New Zealand, but their government has been really, really aggressive over the past 2 years talking about in regards to China and possible war with China. And so if your government is pushing you closer and closer to a possible conflict between you and China because they're really involved in the whole issue of Taiwan and China, then yeah, you probably should be, paying attention and focusing on that because your government is pushing you in that direction. Which is part of what made me notice and start paying attention to, some of the events that are going on more and more now. I would say going on about 3 years or so, I've been looking at, okay, this whole China China-Taiwan thing is going to be heating up sometime soon. The same thing with the Russia-Ukraine stuff, and so I just see a lot of this stuff tying up. That's the reason why I said earlier in the show, do not get. Let's see. Let me switch this view. Say, do not get so hung up on the whole on this Iran nuclear deal, because I would not be surprised if Iran just signs the deal to try to pacify people while having ulterior motives. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's see what else we got. He's here in Texas. He's just like every other Joe Blow. Yeah. Well, and you do have a lot of wealthy people in Texas who think that they're like everybody else. I'm like, yeah, because a handful of you rich people hang out together and you guys all decide, well, since I still drive a pickup truck and go to Walmart, that makes me a Joe Blow. No, fuck, it doesn't. It's pretty easy to make money in the bunker and prepper community. I mean, I'd like to get into that business myself. Hamza says, do you watch Eddie Bravo on Rockfin Marcus? The guy is a genius. I haven't, but now that you suggest him, I'll make sure to check him out, Hamza. Canadian Prepper gets some good intel on what's happening overseas. He also follows Patrick Lancaster. Okay, cool. I do follow a lot of Patrick's work. So let's get back into this clip. Oh, shoot, wrong one. Where's it at?
So they're doubling as like a wine cellar or a gun room or a movie theater or a man cave or just some kind of hobby room. So they're not going to waste if they put them underneath the house.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, you know, if we were ever to have a 0 day like that where, you know, the banks just got wiped out or whatever, all of your wealth would essentially be for naught, and possession would literally be 9/10 of the law. And basically what you had on your person would be what you are physically worth. So have the prices of bunkers increased in since we spoke last time? And for people who don't know, me and Ron have done these kind of interviews before. He goes into great depth about all the nuances of bunker building, and, you know, all your questions will be answered in all those videos. The purpose of today's video is to get an update on the state of the industry. So what are the prices of bunkers? Has it gone up even more? Because I know last time when we talked, you were saying that the price of steel was really high, and, you know, there was a pretty high bar for entry into this thing.
Well, the price is still tripled or even quadrupled. 2 years ago, I was paying 30 cents a pound for my plate steel. Today, I'm paying $1.25 a pound. So that's more than quadrupled. So I would say the price of the bunkers has gone up probably about 30 to 40% from, say, 2.5 years ago. But I haven't raised anything a penny since this war started. But I can tell you, since the war started, the price of steel's gone up about 5 or 6%. The price of the air systems has gone up about 40 to 50%. But I am holding the prices I had a year ago because they kind of maxed out a year ago. So I'm holding the line right now, but I don't know how much longer I can hold it. But I'm trying to keep the prices to where everybody can afford one. And the good news is I'm getting ready to come out with a bunker for the average guy. I'm getting a lot of calls. People can't afford my upscale bunkers. I'm like, I found that sweet spot, and that sweet spot is around $40,000. So I'm going to produce 100 shelters at $40,000 that are called the Garnado. And they're 8 feet by 10 feet. You could get maybe 2 people, 2 adults and a child, or 2 adults and a dog in there. They're going to have a mud room. They're going to have the gas tight door. They're going to have the Swiss air system with the manual override crank. What they're not going to have the underfloor storage.
No, I wanted to stop right there. The gas tight doors. Oh, good night, Hamza. Glad to have you here, brother. And we'll talk. Let me know when Instagram who wins. Oh, sorry, Uma. I can't copy and translate it on here. For some reason, it doesn't let me. When I try to do it, it just pops it on the screen. But if you comment on Rockfin, I can translate it and put it on the screen. Yeah, Baba was saying you don't need bunkers per se. Basements with hidden rooms are pretty good to have as well. Well, if society just kind of falls apart, then yes. But if you're looking at the possibility where you can have some kind of nuclear fallout, this is where I believe that the whole bunker thing is coming into play. And the reason why I feel that this is why this is coming into play is because with a lot of I'm trying to remember the capsules that people were buying like crazy. The big fear with a lot of elites is they are worried about the possibility that this could turn into a nuclear war and we can have nuclear fallout. And so that's the reason why they're more focused on bunkers. So that's where I feel like this whole main thing about the bunkers is coming in. So let's play a little bit more.
And they're not going to have the 8-foot tall ceilings. They're going to be 7-foot tall ceilings, but I can ship them in one piece. So there's no welding required. So I'm listening to people. And my goal is to be able to get a bunker delivered and installed for $50,000. So I'm getting ready to produce 100 of them. I'll see how it goes. If it goes well, maybe I can produce more. But the problem is I can't hardly get 100 air systems for these 100 shelters. The same air system that goes in a $40,000 shelter is the same one that goes in a $200,000 shelter. So it's like you have a bullet. Do you use the bullet to shoot a deer or do you use a bullet to shoot a rabbit? We give you a little snack. A deer will feed you for a week. But I listen to people and I care about the average guy and I want to help them. So yes, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put a shelter out there in the next week that people can afford so the average blue collar guy can get something delivered so he has some chance of survival in a bunker.
That's interesting. So you're saying a lot of the components that go into making the air filtration systems and perhaps
I think that's it. Well, it's not about that the bunkers are a new thing. Yeah, I grew up in a state which has plenty of bunkers. I grew up in the state of Kansas for the most part, and there were plenty of bunkers throughout that whole entire state. Mostly it was for an extreme weather event, but and I do believe in the 50s that a lot more of that Cold War stuff was literally just to scare you. I do believe that was a scare. Because I don't believe that it was at all, at any point was there ever going to be an actual launching off of missiles. What it is a lot of the people who were in powers that be and who advised in this government were, and especially if you go back to the 1950s, these are people who were coming out of Germany. A lot of people, if you look up into Operation Paperclip and other things like that, you can tell a lot of these people came from Germany. And if you're coming out of Germany and you still fear Russians, of course your mindset is that Russians are going to attack us. Russians are going to attack us. And it's almost like a PTSD that you have. And so from that moment on, you're always scared of Russians. It's kind of the same thing with screw it, just say it. What I feel that you have in the Jewish community, how they always still referring back to Hitler and Germany. Hitler's been dead a long time. Well, I believe he's been dead a long time. He could have just been whisked away to Argentina. But that's just a theory. But a lot of Jewish people are still worried about Germany to this day. And I feel a lot of those people who were fleeing who have left Germany and came into our American government, NASA in particular, were still fearful of Russia. So yes, do I believe they were trying to scare us? Definitely. Do I believe that more and more now that there is a possibility of a nuclear attack? I think if you don't think that it's a possibility of a nuclear attack, then I think that you're letting yourself be. I would say just being too comfortable, because even if it's a small possibility, it's still, I don't feel it's a small possibility. I think that a lot of people will say, yeah, people have always been saying this is going to happen. And so after a while, they start thinking that it's not going to happen, or it's not possible that it can happen. And I think that can get you in trouble in that mindset. It's like, man, my car's never broke down before, so I don't have to worry about it breaking down. Well, when your car breaks down, then what do you do? So, I mean, I just think that this is something that's possible. I don't believe this is to scare us, because most Americans can't afford these. Most Americans don't even hear about this unless they're researching and digging into it. That's the reason why I don't believe that it's to scare us. These are wealthy people who are reaching out to these people and asking them to do this. And I believe it's because they have more knowledge about things that are possibly going on, because our media lies so much. And so since they're more in the know, especially the ones who are bought and paid and who are facilitating a lot of these things, I don't mean facilitating the major global events, but they know when they get up there and they lie and propose different information to make things seem subdued or not as big of a deal, they know when they're doing that. So if you can guess that, okay, well, maybe I'm kind of propping this up to make it seem like it's not a big deal, then there's a possibility that you can put, 2 and 2 together and connect the dots and figure out what might be possible. Antu says, I just know that my grandfather used to laugh at Alex Jones and the prep community, because he said he was young when they just moved to the United States, and the propaganda was as it is with Alex Jones. Well, that's why I say you can't be, a lot of people get comfortable with the fact of, yeah, people have always been saying this is going to happen, I don't have to worry about that. A lot of people said that, oh, the end of the world is coming, the end of the world is coming. Yes, people always say that, stuff like that. But if they're a Bible-based person and they're talking about that, there's a such thing as called order of prophecy. There's certain things that happen before other things that have to happen. So if you're the person who's skipping to thinking the America being destroyed part, but you're missing all these other things that it said are supposed to happen before that time period, then yes, you are jumping ahead. Oh, please. Oh, Kelly, please don't talk up the. I pray that person stays away. Maybe some of his people have kind of maybe talked some sense into him and like, dude, just leave him alone. I mean, I'm so happy that I'm able to actually talk to people and have this conversation with my audience again. It was getting to the point I was like, I was worried, how am I going to talk anybody that's new in the chat? How am I going to be able to even go back and forth or engage with them or want to share their comments, because I'm worried about this knucklehead is in there messing with us. Hey, I see Indy in the building. What's up, Indy? Glad to see you over here. I got to get you back on the show again sometime soon. Very, very smart, brilliant man, and definitely has helped our channel out quite a bit. And make sure you all go and subscribe over, if you're not, to independent news over there and Indie Left News. Make sure to give them some love. They're great folks over there. I almost was gonna steal your thunder, INN's thunder a little. I see. I think it's probably Colin who's doing it. You got one talking about the Iran nuclear deal. I was like, I'll hold back. I won't try to steal the thunder from my brothers over there. So, but thanks for dropping in, sir. What was it? My grandfather lived here much longer than me, and I'm not from the United States. Yeah, and I see. Maybe it's your first time hopping in here, or maybe you just haven't commented before. But there's no secret to my audience that I am a Bible believer. I'm not a Christian, though, so it's a little bit different, my understanding of what goes on in the Bible. And I've been predicting some things ahead of time, far ahead of a lot of other content creators, and it's because I can see the writings on the wall to agree, and also I can see the prophecies if you understand. It's kind of like being able to understand where you are in reading certain things, or even just understanding historical things if it's not entirely spelled out. Yes, they do have mainstream shows about bunkers. Yeah, but not, I would say not so much in tying them to some of the events that are going on and the more of an increase in why people are doing it. I know, especially in this indie community, the only person I can think of that's talked about bunkers is maybe Slow News Day. And I would say, I think the Bank Sisters, those are the only people I saw talk about it. And I've been doing content creation going on, 3 years or so. I mean, if just going on other people's shows and stuff like that, all of that put together, maybe about 4 years I've been doing this, and I've only seen like a handful of people talk about this. Most content creators are not very smart. I don't watch but you have a fine show. Thank you. I'm not right on everything. Like, none of us are right on everything. But one thing I do like to do here on the show, and hopefully everybody else will attest, that I try to have conversations, and I want the audience involved, because I believe my audience, like I say all the time, is a brilliant audience, and they help teach me stuff, and they help me have an extra set of ears, I feel, to be able to keep up with all the topics going on. Indy says, Marcus is the real deal. He has the conversations and asks the tough questions. I appreciate you, sir. I do. I know I'm working on a interview, fingers crossed, prayers up in the air that I can get it going. But with all the stuff that's going on in Somalia and Ethiopia, I have a journalist who is on the ground there, which I'm looking to set up an interview with. And I think that could be a really good one. I was supposed to have another one with Gugulethu, Dr. Gugulethu from South Africa. But for those who have seen it and seen it get pushed back, he's actually had some problems with Twitter and getting banned, and so communication issues have been a little tough for him. I guess I sent him communications on other platforms, and he didn't get those, and he tried to reach me on other ones, and it was just kind of one of those things, ships passing in the night kept missing each other. And so I will have him back on, because there's a lot that's been going on in South Africa, and I'm also working on journalists. There's a journalist that I'm trying to reach out to, I believe, in Nigeria. Anyone out there, if you have any journalists or people who are very knowledgeable about politics or just news and events anywhere in the world, I want to talk to them. I'm not there to spend my time berating them for whatever their country is doing or not doing. I'm there to learn. So anyone that you all can suggest to me, whether it's somebody, I've reached out to a couple of people in India, because I really like to talk to a couple of people there, because it's just a lot of fascinating stuff that's happening right in their proximity, and they're being involved in so many different conflicts right now. Like they're involved with stuff with China, stuff with Russia. There's stuff going on between them and Thailand. There's stuff that was going on in Sri Lanka. There's just so many different issues that India is kind of involved with. So I'm looking for somebody to talk to in India. And I've been for probably a decade wanting to talk to somebody who's on the ground in Japan that can explain some things. So definitely trying to expand my reach throughout everywhere I can reach, because I don't want to weigh on the medias. I don't even their corporate medias in these different countries. I want to talk to another person who's just like me, just like you, who is living a normal life, who's just going through it day in, day out. And that's the people who I want to talk to. Colin did the Iran nuclear story on Wednesday. That's a premiere of the clip. Okay, yeah, I will definitely wait. I definitely want to see it. Just because they talk about it doesn't mean it's good, though. Do they know what they're talking about? That's what I'm saying. I want to talk to people who are knowledgeable. I mean, I will definitely vet the people that you guys send to me and try to reach out to them if I feel that they can be beneficial to the audience. And also, whenever I set up these interviews, I like to have engagement from some of you all for you all to ask questions that I might not know or might not come up. For those that don't know, I do. I'm like for this show, I will, of course, look over a couple of things. I'll have a couple of stories already in mind to talk about, but easily 50% of the show comes up off the top of my head, just in the moment. So if I get talking about something, it's easy to be interviewing somebody and not get to certain topics or, just like anyone, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to have every topic, covered to the fullest knowledge. And some stuff I'm going to have more knowledge on than other things. Because as you guys know, my background is more on weapons, tactics, security, explosives, things like that. And so I always look more at the foreign policy issue, not as much domestic policy, even though in my little political time, I did focus a lot on American domestic policy. But when it comes to a lot of these other countries, if I haven't visited the country, I will not go out on a limb and pro or con against that nation and tell what I think is going on there. So let me see, anything else? Denver said, that guy looks like Hitler as an old man in Argentina. I mean, let's see, what is that? Wow, I gotta show you guys this. This is funny. I don't know if this is real or not. Wow. Yes, I can see Reddit on my computer. It's trying to give me problems even trying to show it. Show you guys what Denver shared with me. Guess the Hitler in Argentina meme. That's funny. Continue as remarkable poetry. Let me close that out real quick. It's trying to make me somebody that I don't know who I am. Let's see. So I guess that is all I have there. That's all I really have for tonight. Let me see. Oh, a oldie but a goodie. This is when we talked about this very subject. When was that? Let's see what it's August now. This was 4 months ago, April. So let me pull this up on the screen in case anybody didn't see that episode. This is one of the shorts. I think this is like 20 minutes or so on the channel. So yeah, this.
Interested in that, you know what I'm saying? Fucking
yeah. Yeah, I guess let me pull up some of those bunkers just so we can be familiar with it. Berkshire Hathaway is going to operate it great. No surprise there. They're normally involved with a lot of this stuff. And somewhere on the East Coast, I think so too. Yeah, they're ahead a little.
Are we going to get blasted back into the Stone Age? Or can we use our heads and survive the end of days with the help of technology? Here in beautiful Colorado, one man is already thinking about the end of the world.
And it's funny, I'm not sure who was that just said that, yes, in Colorado there's a bunch of bunkers. Ironically, this is the same bunkers we were talking about a couple of months back.
Professor Brian Toon is an atmospheric scientist and an expert on nuclear winter.
Brian, level with me. How likely is an all-out nuclear war, and should I be finding a bunker right now?
You never know for sure, because that's one of the real terrifying things here is that one person in the United States and one person in Russia could decide all by themselves to have a nuclear conflict.
How many nukes are there around the world? Who has them?
There are about 14,000 nuclear weapons in the world. More than 1,000
And I
of them
want to
are held
stop him.
by
Hold on.
Britain, France.
And I want to jump in and stop him. He just said one person in the U.S. or one person in Russia. Well, what about if one person in Iran decides to? What if a person in North Korea decides to? What if a person, in China decides to? There are more nuclear states than what he's mentioning right there. What if Great Britain is compromised and they launch off one? Well, what if it's not even a nuclear attack? What if because this is what me and Chris talked about earlier today with the Ukrainians who are firing missiles dangerously close to that nuclear plant in Crimea. It could also be a situation like that, or it could even just be a situation where I don't remember what it's called. You could just have a nuclear plant start to have issues, and they don't contain it. I don't know. Think back to Fukushima, which happened in Japan not that long ago. You can have a situation like that. Those rods not be able to get cooled down and lose containment, and then you are emitting a radiation. And with how currents go, it's not that hard for that radiation to hit the right jet stream, or well, in that case, wrong jet stream, and get shifted around to all kind of other places. So just with all the stuff that we have going on, we have war, we have all kind of different changes with climate change and things like that. I just read an article about in Poland, hundreds of fish that are just popped up, start dying. We have water issues out here. All kind of things could go on, and we just never can rule anything out, in my opinion. Good question. Do you think independent media is helping our movement grow to work worldwide? No, I don't. And the reason why is because I don't feel enough American content creators are trying to have conversations with people around the world. There are some there who are, even some of those that do it. Are they reaching out to everyone? Or are they just talking to somebody maybe in Ireland or Great Britain or, Canada? Are they really reaching out to people as far and as wide as possible? I don't believe that they are. So I don't feel, and I also think that for people who might have grown up living in the U.S. their whole life, or maybe haven't traveled a lot, that might be a harder, hurdle for them to overcome. So that should be the approach, I feel. More independent media reaching out to more people around the world. That's how you make the world smaller. Charles, renowned geopolitical and financial cyclist expert Charles Ninner says his analysis shows the world will start a huge war cycle by 2023. I entirely agree. I also believe that we will start seeing, we will see the death of fiat currency also. And then I've also said to people, you could easily just, say be in a major city and you lose power for say 3 or 4 days. What do you think happens in a city where you don't have water, you don't have electricity, you don't have cameras on you for 4 days? If you think about that, then and if you think the way I believe, I don't think it would take very long before you start to see things get kind of crazy. Is it me, or does Dr. Brian look pleased about discussing this subject? I do think the guy is pleased about talking about that subject. Some of those people want these things to happen. And I know that sounds crazy to most people, but there are people who they want, well, we do know that there are people who would like to see the population of the earth decrease. And some of them don't care how it's done, as long as there are big chunks of people gone. Say, I don't like for good conversation or streaming platforms, but I understand that lovely or uneducated people might fall to community information online. Yeah, I mean, it's dicey. I don't feel every YouTube channel is out here trying to have these conversations, and in all diligence and all honesty, I do believe some of these people are not honest. I mean, that's a fact. Don't you think? I think conversation on YouTube shows are all same, but all saying things are said. Well, it depends on what you're listening to. Some of these people stay in a loop and a bubble, and they're not talking about anything new or fresh. Some of these people just spend their time bitching about the Democratic Party, Republican Party. Should we go third party? And that's it. And so you have a lot of people who that's the only thing they talk about. And I think if that's all you're talking about, then you're missing the bubble. Does it matter? I mean, if you get your revolution, and once you have that revolution, it's because everything is falling apart. How valuable is that revolution? What are you inheriting? Some people are fine with burning everything down and then inheriting the ruins. So it just all depends on what our approaches are here and what we think are acceptable. I think that it's important to try to be realistic, and everybody I don't feel is being realistic with what they see is going on. I mean, no shade to anybody who, like I tell people, I don't want to be the hope killer. That's not what my goal is here. My goal is I would rather be a realist than what I used to be growing up, an idealist. It's fine to be an idealist and want to see these things, but once you get to, I feel for me, once I got to a certain age, I start seeing things for what they were versus what I hope they were. And I think some people are still stuck in what they hope things were and what they hope they can be versus looking at the cold, hard facts. Baba says, things could calm down in the short term this summer. Then next year, it can start full force again. And the whole thing is very dangerous. I feel what we see is the United States and the West are provoking things. And they're provoking things because they've been able to provoke these things before and know that there was not going to be pushback, or no. It's kind of like a bully. If you bully people all the time and you are able to constantly get away with bullying people and none of them ever decided to push back against you, you're still going to keep bullying. And even if you're bullying this one kid and you notice, okay, he's gotten a little taller now, he's gotten a little stronger, but I've always been able to bully him, I'm still going to be able to bully him. You might be able to, or you might get punched in the fucking face. You might get your ass embarrassed. And so that's what I think the U.S. is playing a dangerous game. Because just because they've been able to walk around the world and bully everybody, it hasn't at all crossed into their psyche that they can lose. And that they can lose handedly. And it doesn't mean that nuclear war is going to be, okay, they launch off, and then the whole world disappears. It could just be the fact of they decide to get everybody together, which the U.S. bullied, and the people who are on the side of the U.S. get them to realize that pressure and say, okay, either you get taken out with them or you need to back the fuck up and let what we want to do happen to them. And then me and you, we can be cool as long as you don't step into our fight. And so I always think that that's a possibility that all the U.S.'s allies, well, I don't really believe that's a possibility, biblical prophecy, because I look at America as the great whore, it literally says that's what's going to happen, that its allies are going to back away from the U.S. So Great Britain, Germany, all these countries who will align with the U.S. in the last days are going to, let's back away from you and let you get, socked up real quick. All right. Yeah, once a bully get punched back, they tend to pull back. Exactly. So do you think there's a pushback to be had finally? The methods which I say to fight back against the elites in America, people don't listen to what I believe would be more effective. That's the reason why I believe that inevitably these things are going to happen. There are ways to push back against this system that could be nonviolent, but I don't feel enough people are going to take that path. So it's going to automatically lead us into another path. It's kind of like how I've seen things for the past couple of years is we're in a slow motion car wreck and you're sliding and you see you're about to hit that telephone pole. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And so I've kind of been just trying to tell people, hey, brace for the impact. This is coming. Yes, we're going to exonerate, assigning all the other political prisoners. We're going to compensate everybody for leg up. Roman law itself is now under indictment. Well, I mean, if you look at the U.S., it still function as an extended Rome or the new Rome, then I would tend to agree with some of that. I mean, I know, Kelly, don't beat me up. I'm going to say a little Bible real quick. It says Mystery Babylon is the spirit of Sodom, Egypt, and a little bit of Rome. And our government runs like the Roman Senate, corrupt as the Roman Senate was. Our nation runs off its military, just like the Romans did. This place was known for all its captivity, whether it was from the Native Americans, the Latinos who dealt with it, and to the slaves that came from the continent of Africa. And then let's just be honest, America's the first place to legalize gay marriage. So the Bible talks about sodomy. Also, another thing people don't focus on about Sodom. Sodom wasn't just known for homosexuality. Sodom was known for how they treated their visitors. Sodom was known for treating their visitors horribly. Horribly. Now, how does America treat a lot of immigrants? So, looking at all these things, I don't know what to say. Don't know what to say. But on that note, I think it's about time for me to wrap it up. We just hit the 3-hour mark. Let's see, and try to answer a couple more of these comments. Self-reliance is unrealistic and feels lonely already. I don't think we should be ashamed in having to ask for help. It's actually a sign of strength to come to that conclusion. Well, we don't say like you should be alone as in just you by yourself, but you can find groups of people that you can bond with and connect with and help you see you through these rougher times. That's what we're saying. Are there really 3 different verses, one of the 10 commandments? Not that I've ever understood. There might be because basically what you have is you have the Vulgate, Sinaiticus, the Septuagint, I'm drawing a blank on it, but you have like a couple of different versions, which is translated from. It's saying the same thing in a nutshell, but depending on the newer translations, it might be worded differently. But if you go back to the 3 major translations, 2 out of 3 are for the most part saying the same thing on certain things, and then where they're a little bit off on this, they're saying the same thing as this other one. So, in the Bible, according to the Bible, it says, "In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let the word be established." So, if you're getting 2 of the primary witnesses that are saying the same thing, that's what you're supposed to go with. So it's not that it's 3 different 10 commandments. There might be a word here, a word there, which is saying something different. Let's see. Let me double check back over the Rockfin before we get out of here. Strategy tension globally, and nearly every war is within the citizen, oppression, nation by nation. Feels like the U.S. is going out of its way to push longtime allies away. Yeah, they're pushing allies away while longtime people they bullied and oppressed are getting stronger. It's almost literally the worst thing that you should do if you were trying to sustain yourself long term. Push away your allies that can help you while pushing towards while aggravating your enemies who want to come after you. Yes. Oh, okay. Exodus 21 and 27. Let's pull it up real quick. I want to read it verbatim. I don't want to just say it out the top of my head. and 7. Let's see. Like a perfect example. I have it here in a couple of different versions. Right here, the first one that pops up is the NIV. If a man steals his daughter as a servant, if a man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not to go free as male servants do. The NLT, when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she will not be freed at the end of 6 years as the men are. The ESV, when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. So you see what I mean? It all depends on the translations. But you got to read all these things in context also. Because it literally gives you, it all depends on which parts translating back to the Greek or the Aramaic. If it's saying a servant, if it's talking about an actual chattel, like chattel slavery, all those things actually matter. And then the context of who it's talking about and what nations and all that. But if you do like to talk Bible talking, you got Bible questions, please come over to Hebrew Apologetics with Marcus and Jose. That's our other channel, me and Jose, where we do deep dives breaking down the Bible. We just talked about on our last show the spirit of Amalek and breaking down that doctrine, how that is not why that doesn't make sense, because Amalek is actually a group of people, not a spirit. So I guess we can leave it there on that note. I know it's definitely getting late on the East Coast, and for anybody who's a little further off, that's a little further. This short video explains the history of the sovereign military order. Knights of Malta. Actually, I think if I pull it up, oh, okay, that's what it is. So it'll let me pull up this clip on my phone, Choosy, and I will go back and double check. Actually, I could just go to it now. And all right, I got that video up. I will check the video that you sent me, sir. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. It was a fun conversation with Anto. Please let me know if I'm saying that correct or wrong. Apologies for popping in and out, Marcus. I will watch the replay. Don't apologize. I'm just glad that you're here. I know everybody is busy, and it is a Saturday night. You guys and girls, gentlemen and gentlewomen, and non-binaries or whatever, you people. Hopefully that's not wrong to certain persons, but y'all don't have to be here. And the fact that you all decided to spend it with us, myself and Chris, we're definitely happy and appreciative of all of our viewers and people who engage us with this conversation and send info to us. Choosy, I think you're on. Are you on Twitter also? So if you're on Twitter, please, reach out to me. Yes, Miguel. Gentle people. Yes. Much respect to all of you. Appreciate you all. And if there's any topics you guys want me, you gentle people, would like me to bring up, in the future, next episode, if I can, just let me know, and we will do it. But that said, this has been the Political Matrix. Shout out to Cy Lawson. Glad to see you back. Hopefully you're having a good night out there and the rest of your weekend. And I'm going to get out of here. I'm Young Morpheus. You all have a wonderful, wonderful night and a wonderful weekend. Thank you all.